Hey, what's going on everyone? MonadoMax here, and what you're about to watch is something very special to me. Back in 2020, I asked myself, what were the best third-party Nintendo Switch games out there? Obviously, Nintendo had a history of the system not being the greatest out there because of its power, and because of that, you saw so many things get canceled or just not run well on the Nintendo Switch. And I felt it was my journey to figure out what was the best Switch games out there from third-party developers. And I started this series in 2020 not realizing that it would be an actual series. And here we are, we finished the series and have done 100 Nintendo Switch games. We reviewed 100 Nintendo Switch games. I mean, just think about that. That's crazy to say. And I wanted to put all those videos together in one giant video since we've officially wrapped up that series. So sit back and enjoy what I feel like is a movie. Not to mention, you're gonna see so many different backgrounds. You're gonna see the video quality improvements, the backgrounds changing, the weight loss. There's so much that happens in these videos that it's great to see from the start to finish. Enjoy.
The Nintendo Switch, one of the most interesting Nintendo systems out there, has loads of games, and it also has loads of Nintendo Switch ports. And it also has some pretty awful Nintendo Switch ports. But today in this video, we're going to be digging into my top 10 favorite Nintendo Switch ports out there for the system. Coming in at number 10 is Skyrim. It's Skyrim for the Switch. What can I say? Interestingly enough, this was one of the first Nintendo Switch games that was announced for the system, and something like Skyrim was just surprising to see on a Nintendo console. It's amazing to take this game out on the go all in one cartridge. However, there is some disappointing things such as no mods in this version, and from what I'm understanding with the game, there's none of the Elder Scrolls V Special Edition stuff within this game, other than some of the DLC. But it's an amazing port that when I was playing, I honestly thought it was at a locked 60 frames per second. It was so smooth, and it wasn't. It was at a locked 30, but the fact that I was thinking it was 60 frames per second, I think says a lot. So this is an amazing Switch port. Coming in at number 9 is Starlink. This is one of the few good Star Fox games out there that isn't a Star Fox game. You can find this game at a lot of stores for $5, and for $5 you will have so much fun with this game. If you like exploring space or just destroying stuff in space, this game is for you. Even if you love Star Fox, this game is for you. As with the Nintendo Switch version of the game, Star Fox has a part of the game. They even have exclusive Star Fox missions that make sense with the story, featuring Wolf, which is honestly pretty cool. Now, if only we could get a good Star Fox game that isn't trying to remake Star Fox for the 100th time. Nintendo, please reach out to Ubisoft. I don't know what is up with you guys, but the team over at Ubisoft, I'm not sure what developers made Starlink. We know it was Ubisoft, but the team that did Starlink, you guys gotta make a Star Fox game, because this game was amazing. It ran amazing. I did have a couple frame rate drops though, I will say, but other than that, this game is 100% worth $5. Me personally, I wouldn't recommend any other version of the game other than the Switch, just more because of the whole Star Fox content of the game. Coming in at number 8 is SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. So yeah, I'm gonna get made fun of for having this on my list. And yes, compared to the other versions of the game, it doesn't look the best on Switch, but it's at a locked 60 frames per second, and that's pretty good for a Switch game that's on PS4 and Xbox One. And if you are a fan of Super Mario 64 or any other collectathon games out there, or just love speedrunning games, this game is for you. I've always recommended this game for people, and they always love it. Even adults. Don't let it be because it has SpongeBob on it the reason you do not play this game. because this game is very, very special. It is honestly one of the best Switch games out there right now. Not to mention, it is a very affordable game on top of that. Typically, you can find this game to $20 to $30, and for a game like this, that's very affordable because there's hours and hours amount of content that you can do in this game. Even if you want to 100% it, I mean, that's so much content right there. Very affordable, very worth it. Coming in at number 7 is LA Noire, the only Rockstar game on the Nintendo Switch. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. This isn't the most special games in terms of adding new content / features to the Switch version of the game, and it really doesn't look that much better than the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions of the game. But the game is a very fun and such a unique story that I can't comprehend it. And the fact that it's set in the 1940s, it's just a very different and unique game that I've played compared to the other games out there for the Switch. And to be honest with you, this game is a very cheap game. You can find this at least for $10. And for $10 for a Rockstar Games game, I mean, dude, it's very much worth it. And just don't expect any mind-blowing features for this remastered, because to be honest with you, compared to the other versions that they did with this game, they really didn't do that much with the Switch version. So if you have a PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or just a PC, a solid PC I must say, I would say go ahead and pick it up for one of those. But if the Switch is the only console you have, and you go out of town a lot, then just pick it up on your Switch. It's still a solid port. Coming in at number 6 is the Bioshock collection. What can I say? You have 3 amazing games all in one collection. That being Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, Bioshock Infinite, which in my opinion, Bioshock Infinite is one of the most beautiful games out there. And it looks beautiful. Graphically, it just mind-blowing, and it's a last-gen game. So the fact that was a last-gen game, I'm still blown away by that. This is a more recent Nintendo Switch port out there, done by the company that did the Outer Worlds port. So don't let that make you think that the Bioshock collection, that's going to be an awful port since the Outer Worlds port was awful. No, this was a very solid port, and I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, this was a really solid port. I was surprised just because, you know, I was kind of doubting that this would be a good port just for the fact that it's the same company that did the Outer Worlds port. All 3 games run amazing on the Nintendo Switch. Best of all, it's portably. I'm sure a lot of people want to play Bioshock Infinite on the go, and you can finally do that with this Nintendo Switch version. The only sad thing about this is that you have to have a lot of space on your Switch if you want to buy this, because you have to download all 3 games separately onto your Switch. The cartridge just has just a tiny bit of Bioshock in it. It doesn't hold the full game in there. So just keep in mind, you need to have a lot of Switch memory if you want to buy this collection. It's a very affordable collection now. It retails for $50, but I've seen it go on sale for $20 sometimes. So if you're interested in getting this, I would definitely wait for a sale, because it goes on sale for pretty cheap. Coming in at number 5 is Doom 2016 for the Nintendo Switch. What can I say about this game? Panic Button demolished this Switch port. It is easily one of the best Switch ports out there. It's most of the time, to me, I feel like it runs at a locked 30 frames per second. Still looks amazing on the Switch, especially in handheld mode and docked mode. The game, it's amazing. I don't know how Panic Button does it. Panic Button has worked on the Nintendo Switch for a very long time. They've put out some amazing Switch ports. And Doom definitely is the cherry on top, because this game, it is amazing. Now, there is some disappointments. This game takes up a lot of space on your Switch, especially if you want the online mode. You have to download a whole nother separate thing just to have online. And on top of that, the game's been out since 2017, and if you want to count the other consoles, it's been out since 2016. And the price of this game, the lowest I've ever seen this go, is $30. So that it is a little bit disappointing, and I mean, I guess it all depends on you if you want to pay that, because obviously if you only have a Switch then and you want this game, you're obviously going to have to pay either the $30 or $60. It still retails for $60, and it doesn't all the time go on sale for $30, so it's kind of a rare sale. So it all depends on you if you want it at that price. If you have the other consoles such as PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you can get that game for literally $5 on there. So it's all a preference. It's all up to you. Just know that it's pricey and it takes a lot of space on your Switch. Coming in at number 4 is Crash Bandicoot: The Insane Trilogy. This is honestly one of the most surprising games to be on the Switch or just any other platform in general. In case you guys don't know, Crash Bandicoot used to be the PlayStation mascot. So to see him on the Switch, especially since Crash Bandicoot made fun of Mario, it's interesting. It's very interesting, but this Switch port is amazing. It's, to me, it'll lock 30. Don't know for sure about that. And it looks beautiful too. If you were to compare the versions, you can see graphically there is a little bit of a difference, but to me, it's not a dramatic difference. It's still the best. And for me personally, I would call this the best version of Crash Bandicoot, because graphically, I see no difference. I mean, there is a difference if you compare the two. If you have both right beside each other, there's a difference. But to me, Crash Bandicoot: The Insane Trilogy is the definitive way to play on the Switch. Just because it's portable, runs good, looks good, it has everything, and best of all, something like this would usually take up a lot of Switch space. They managed to get all of the games in one cartridge, so I was very satisfied with that. You can see this game go on sale for $20, but it retails for $40, so it's up to you. I think paying for $40 is worth it because you get 3 games that are completely remade for the Switch with today's graphics. It's just awesome. This is a very, very amazing Switch port. Coming in at number 3 is The Witcher 3. Haha, did you see what I did there? 3. That was actually unintentional, but I'm going to keep it like that. The Witcher 3, I can't believe this is on the Switch. I seriously cannot believe this is running on the Switch. I'm going to be honest with you, this doesn't look great on the Switch, especially if you're going to be playing in docked. But you got to remember how big of a game this is, and the fact that they were able to put this on the Switch, it's amazing. I did sometimes have some frame rate drops as I was playing the game, but to be honest with you, that should be expected for a game like this. This is a huge game. And another thing, they managed to put all the DLC, everything ever released for this game, all in one cartridge, and still doesn't take that much Switch space. I think it took like 13 gigabytes. That is a lot, but for something like this, that is very, 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 very impressive, just for the fact it's The Witcher 3, it's all the DLC, and yeah, so to be able to play this game portably, because this is a very long game. I'm still not done with it. This is a long game. So if you're that person, obviously we're all staying home because of global pandemic, but if you were any other person, you might be traveling a lot, working, just job, traveled, all that stuff. Playing this on the Switch would be very beneficial for you, because I'm not joking with you. This is a very, very long game. Especially with the DLC. I have no idea how long the DLC is. So the fact that this is on Switch, to me, I think is very beneficial. Again, because it's a very long game. Now, I will say, disappointing side of it, it's a pretty expensive Switch game. The lowest I've ever seen this game go for on the Switch is $40. And it is a more recent Switch title. It came out in 2019. But all the other versions, they're $10. Again, they've been out longer, but the Switch version, people call it Switch tax. You're paying a lot of Switch tax for this version of the game. And I mean, it's worth it. Don't get me wrong. It's very much worth it, especially considering the fact they got it all in one cartridge. It's amazing. It's all, again, like some of these games, it's all going to be your preference. Do you want to spend that much money for the Switch version, or do you want to play on your other console version? Either way, it's my number 3 best Switch game out there in terms of ports. Coming in at number 2 is Mortal Kombat 11. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This game looks ugly as crap on the Switch. It is one of the ugliest games on the Switch. Not going to deny that. But what I think it's so amazing about this is that they were able to put this on the Switch at a locked 60. Obviously, they chose frame rate over graphics, which with a fighting game like this, that's obviously the best decision to go with. And it doesn't look like ugly, but if you were to pull out all the versions of the game, you can see a major difference between the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, all of those versions. There's a drastic difference. And the game is very affordable. Like, it is very affordable. I just saw it on sale the other day for the Switch for $15. So you don't have to worry about paying that Switch tax. It pretty much retails the same price as all the other versions out there for this game. Now, there is another disappointing thing. Well, not another. This is the first disappointing thing about this. It takes up a lot of gigabytes. Like, a lot. I'm looking at the back of the case. It takes 20, but I'm pretty sure I remember on my Switch it took over 25 gigabytes, and like that's just being generous. I'm pretty sure there was way more than that. So just keep that in mind. The game runs amazing, but it looks awful. So that's all I can say. Coming in at number 1 is Doom Eternal for the Switch. Now, this is a more recent game, but I can tell you this is the best Switch port out there. Number 1 best Switch port. Another port made by Panic Button, the same people that did Doom 2016. And, dude, this game is awesome. I can't believe this runs on the Switch. In my opinion, it looks better than what it did on Doom 2016. This game looks 20 times better than the Doom 2016 version of the game. And again, Panic Button just continues to shock the world. People thought Doom Eternal was not coming to the Switch. It was taking a while for it to come out, and they were just like, Panic Button was not able to make this game run on the Switch. What do you know? Panic Button comes in, baseball home run, and shocks everyone. This game is, in my opinion, locked at a 30 frames per second. Looks beautiful, and it's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, there's some issues. We're getting into those issues now. It is $60, and it has never been on sale yet. If you look at the PlayStation 4, Xbox One versions of this game, I've seen those versions go for $20. So it's like, do you want to pay the Switch tax for this? Because, I mean, it is an on-the-go experience. And that brings me to my next issue with the game. It is a digital-only game. There is no cartridge for this game, which in my opinion, I'm really disappointed about that. We talked about it in my Doom Eternal review. Make sure to go watch that if you want to know more details on Doom Eternal and how I feel about the game. I have an in-depth review of the game. It'll be linked in the description below, but there's some issues with the $60 price tag, and it's digital only, so it's all gonna be in your hands to decide if is that a game that you want. I don't know. but it's one of my favorites, and that's why you're here. You're here to see my top 10 favorite Switch titles.
Well, I'm running out of ideas for videos, so you know what that means? It means it's time to milk one of these videos again. Another top 10 list. So obviously, the Nintendo Switch here has a lot of games for the system. Has a lot of third-party games. Some that are bad, some that are really good. And as the list continues to grow for the Nintendo Switch, that means there is way more third-party games to talk about. So I decided to make a second list of the top 10 best third-party games, since you guys apparently really love the first part, as it's one of my most popular videos of all time. So let's dig right into the list, talk about all these great new Nintendo Switch games that I've added to the list. Now, I will say that the first list is still just as great as the second list. It's just an additional list since, you know, there's more third-party games than just what I talked about in the other list. I mean, there's still even more great third-party games to talk about that aren't even mentioned in this video. So if you guys want to see a third part in a few months, let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so starting off this list, I do want to say I haven't had the chance to play too much of this game, but with everything that's happening with the Nintendo Switch OLED right now, this game is perfect for the Nintendo Switch OLED. And that's Ori and the Blind Forest. This is one of those games that is one of the most original, most peaceful games that I've played in a very long time. Granted, I'm in the very early stages of the game still, I just haven't had a chance to go back and play it, but it really makes me feel like I'm playing a Pixar movie, if that makes sense. The art style is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a video game, and on the Nintendo Switch OLED, playing it in handheld mode is even more beautiful because of how the game is. Ori and the Blind Forest runs great on the Nintendo Switch. It's an Xbox property on Nintendo Switch. You can't really complain. It's another huge Nintendo Switch game to have on the already growing Nintendo Switch library. Now, I will say, there's really nothing wrong with the Nintendo Switch version of Ori and the Blind Forest. The only thing that I guess you could complain about is the price point of the game, at least physically. Physically, it's a pretty expensive game. For some reason, you have to pay double the price for a physical copy if you want it physically. If you want it digital, all you have to pay is 20 bucks. So if you're a physical guy, just keep in mind, if you want a physical copy of this game, you do have to pay double the price. Alright, coming in number 9 is going to be probably a little bit of a hot take one, but just hear me out. Let's get through it before you guys automatically are like, that's a weird pick, Max. So coming in number 9 is Dead by Daylight. Listen, this game does not look great on the Nintendo Switch, but it certainly runs great. If you want a great online multiplayer game for your Nintendo Switch, then Dead by Daylight is the perfect game for you and your friends. So if you're a fan of the horror genre, then this game is also perfect for you, because this game has literally every horror franchise you can think of except Friday the 13th. I know someone's gonna point that out, but you got Freddy Krueger, you got some of the things from Saw in it, you got some of Evil Dead references in it, you got literally Halloween, you got maps from Stranger Things, you have so much horror genre in here. I think they just put Pinhead in the game, and that means they're still going to add more and more horror references to the game. I mean, Left 4 Dead, that's in this game, that's awesome. But just in general, without all that crossover content, this game is super fun. It's a very fun multiplayer online game only that is just perfect because you're trying to escape the killer and you have to go through all these generators, making the generators fixed to work so you can open the gate to escape. This game is perfect. And like I said, the graphics are not great, and you're gonna see that in the gameplay that I'm showing you. So, you know, graphically, if you can get like that out of your head, this game runs perfect because I've seen no frame rate drops when I play the Dead by Daylight on the Nintendo Switch. And a game like that to run with no frame rate drops is pretty amazing. It also has crossplay, and you really can't do wrong with crossplay. So if you have the Switch version, you can play with your PlayStation, PC, Xbox, all those guys. Alright, coming in number 8 is going to be Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Now, I'm not going to talk about too much of this right now because I made a review for the game. Go watch that review. A lot of people didn't watch it. But this game, if you're a Smash Bros. Player, you'll enjoy it.
There is issues with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, but if you can find this game for the right price, which I'm pretty sure it's going on sale for 20 bucks during Black Friday, then this is well worth it, because even for $20 you can have a lot of fun with this game. I'm having a lot of fun playing this game, and you know, I think this game has potential to grow into something really big. It's already really big, but with the issues people are talking about, it seems like the developers care. And if you're a Smash Bros. Player, again, this is another great fighting game to have with your Nintendo Switch. Coming in number 7 is Persona 5 Strikers. Now, if you're like me, you're wondering, where is Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch? When this game was finally announced, it almost seemed like Persona 5 was for sure coming to the Nintendo Switch down the road, especially since Persona 5 Strikers is a sequel to Persona 5. So it's very confusing that Sega and Atlus was like, yeah, we'll have Persona 5 Strikers on the Nintendo Switch. But it's a great game to have on the Nintendo Switch. You got a 50+ hour game on you that you can take on the go. Any games that are that long is great to have on the Switch, because some of them are way too long. Because, I mean, Persona 5, the base Persona 5, it took me almost 100 hours to beat that game. So having that on the Switch would definitely be more beneficial, because not everyone's going to be home to play the PlayStation 4. Anyways, Persona 5 Strikers is a great game. It's basically, what I describe it, is Dynasty Warriors, but Persona. Now, what I mean by that is that the battle system is Dynasty Warriors, but the actual gameplay, where you're exploring the palaces like normal that you would do, everything still is like Persona 5 gameplay. It's just the battling system is Dynasty Warriors. The game runs really good. I've had some issues with the frame rates, but this actually runs better than Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Yes, I know that's going to be a shocker for some people, but this game runs better than that game, which is funny. And the game still looks great on the Switch. Alright, coming in number 6 is going to be No More Heroes. Alright, so this year I had the great opportunity of going ahead and finishing No More Heroes 1. And I gotta say, this was a little bit, not necessarily a different game for me. It was just something that really reminded me of playing some of the older games that I played as a kid. And that's gonna be a very weird comparison, since this game is definitely not for kids. This game is definitely more on the mature side, but the game is awesome. The gameplay really reminds me of some of those older games that I played as a kid. Like, it reminds me, this is a weird comparison. This is probably going to be the weirdest comparison of the No More Heroes game for me. This game felt like I was playing a mature Nickelodeon game. If you guys know how those games, the older Nickelodeon games, how they were with the gameplay, those games were awesome with the gameplay. And No More Heroes to me reminds me like a updated gameplay version of a Nickelodeon game, not to mention the characters and the humor that's inside of No More Heroes. It's a great game overall. It's an interesting story, and it makes fun of a lot of other things that I think is awesome in terms of, you know, how other parodies and stuff like that, like the credits is actually a reference to Star Wars, which I thought was awesome. I haven't had a chance to play No More Heroes 2 or 3 or even Travis Strikes Back again, but it's definitely on the list after completing No More Heroes 1. So coming in number 5 is one that I think is super exciting, and if you guys have not played it yet, you definitely should, and that's the Ace Attorney Trilogy. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be confused by why I have a Japan copy of the game. It's because the game never released physically here in America. Everywhere else had a physical copy except us, which was really weird. But this game is digitally only on the Nintendo Switch here in America. And the game is super cheap sometimes. I think I've seen it go on sale for like 12 bucks at one point. But you get 3 games in one. My best way to describe it is you're a lawyer or an attorney, and you get to defend your clients. The game has some interesting stories that are put into each game, and one of my favorites, honestly, is the first game, because the 4th case in that game, it gets absolutely crazy. It's nothing graphically amazing, it's just the story is very interesting. You get your eyes glued to it very fast. and the gameplay, it's nothing special. It's just the story that you're into. The game isn't for everyone, but I would highly, highly, highly recommend you give it a try if you can find the right price for it. Coming in number 4 is Super Bomberman R. So this is actually the second Nintendo Switch game I've ever owned. Now, I will say, this game isn't for you if you're just somebody playing by yourself. This is one of those party games, and this game is probably one of the best party Nintendo Switch games. I've had so much fun bringing this game over to places, and people that don't even care about video games that much have played this game and told me, wow Max, this is a really fun game. So Bomberman R is something very special, and I don't know how to describe it because I know the gameplay, it's gonna look boring, but I'm telling you, if you play this game with friends, it's absolutely amazing. It has online, but I'll be honest with you, you're not gonna find a lobby unless you're playing with friends online. The community for this game is pretty dead, as it was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, and I don't think many people bought the game. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's like a free online Bomberman R game, I think, that came out earlier this year. So listen, play the game, it's really worth it. I don't know how much it is now. I think I see it for about $20. $20 is well worth it if you have a bunch of friends. I'm telling you, you will have so much fun with this game. I don't know how much to say, like what I need to say about this game, because I'm trying to make it not sound boring, and it's just an amazing game. Go buy it. Coming in number 3 is Hades. Now, this game probably should be higher on my list, but I get too irritated of dying on this game that I rage quit way too fast every time I play this game. This game is very fun, but very annoying at times. This is a rogue game. In case you guys don't know what a rogue game is, if you die, you have to start all the way back. Doesn't matter how far you got, no saving, none of that. You have to start all the way back. It's a very fun game. The voice acting is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen with a game that has voice acting. Its art style is also something very incredible. It looks graphically amazing. It looks graphically amazing on any platform, especially with the Switch OLED screen. That game looks beautiful on the Switch OLED screen. The game runs great, just everything about this game is great. Now, if you can get past the part that's being a rogue game, then you will have a lot of fun with this game. I mean, if you consider that it's a rogue game, you have a lot of content within you, because it's going to take you a while to beat this game. You're not supposed to beat it in the first try or the second try. You're supposed to die a lot of times to get used to what's coming at you. So if you get this game, you're probably looking about a 30-hour game, especially, no spoilers, but you know what I'm talking about to those that played the game. You got a lot to play. So if you buy the game, you'll have a lot of fun with it, and the price for it digitally is like $20. The physical copy is a little bit more expensive, which it is an indie game, and I know that the indie game companies have to spend a lot of money for cartridges, so I'm not going to complain there. It's probably one of the best Nintendo Switch games out there in general. I just don't play it enough because every time I die, I get so mad and I don't want to play the game for a few months. So, yeah, it's well worth it though. Coming in number 2 is Monster Hunter Rise. Now, this is one of those games that is probably going to be nominated as Game of the Year for this year, 2021. And it was definitely a very fun game that Capcom released earlier this year. I think it was one of those games that it kind of shocked people, like how much of people was actually playing it, because I felt like when this game came out, I saw literally everyone play it, and actually, fun fact, it's the best-selling third-party Nintendo Switch game, by a lot actually. The second best-selling Nintendo Switch game in terms of third-party was 2 million copies. Monster Hunter Rise, I'm pretty sure, has done over 5 million copies. So this game is extremely popular. Not to mention that Monster Hunter Rise is getting updates constantly, with now DLC expansions coming later next year. This game has a lot of content in it. It's also a very fun online multiplayer game if you're into online at all. I also did a whole review of this game, which you should go check out because there's a funny skit in that video. But anyways, I'm not going to talk too much about this game since I have a whole review.
about it. Go check it out. Now, our number one third-party Switch game in our second list. I feel like everyone forgets about this being a third-party game because I forgot it was a third-party game, and this game should have been included in my last list that I made of the top 10 best Nintendo Switch third-party games, and it wasn't. And now that I'm realizing it wasn't, I was really upset, but it's okay. This game is the best Nintendo Switch game of all time in terms of third party. And that game is Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Yes, I know automatically people are going to be like, what? Mario? No, Nintendo didn't develop this. It was Ubisoft. I think a lot of people get that mixed up. Ubisoft fully developed this game. Just like they're fully developing the sequel of Mario and Rabbids that's coming out later this year. This game is one of those games that you expect to be absolute garbage because when you think of crossovers with Mario, I'm pretty sure no one in their right mind is like thinking, hey, you know what we should make a game of? Rabbids and Mario. That's the perfect crossover. I'll be honest with you. They match perfect. The crossover really makes sense if you play the game. You would not think it makes sense and you would think that it just doesn't work, but with how the gameplay works and how everything about how Mario Rabbids is, this is definitely a really good game. Not to mention there is some co-op stuff in there if you guys have multiplayer. Not to mention this game has a pretty decently long story mode, which is about 15 hours. This game is very well worth it. It's a very fun game, not to mention it runs, looks amazing. It also has DLC. If you're a Donkey Kong fan, there's a whole Donkey Kong DLC mode in the game where I think it's actually story mode. I didn't play the DLC, but that's there. There's a lot of content in this game, and it's a lot of people's favorite Nintendo game. If you can just get past the part that the Rabbids are in it, because I know way too many people that did not play this game because the Rabbids are in it, you'll have so much fun. Just get past the Rabbids part. Listen, trust me, it's a great game. Just get past the Rabbids part. You'll have so much fun with the game. Oh my gosh, the camera almost fell. The Nintendo Switch, one of my favorite systems Nintendo has made. It may honestly be my favorite system they've made. This thing has so many games. From Nintendo's side, from the third-party side, this thing has probably one of the best game libraries out there. And you want to know one of the best things about the Switch? It's portable. And with it being portable, that brings so many possibilities of games that you could never imagine being portable on a Nintendo console. And you know what that means? That means a lot of third-party games. We're doing another top 10 third-party games video because for whatever reason, you guys love those videos to death. My first one is probably one of my top videos. It's got over 4,000 views. The second one is about to be at 1,000. It's been growing like crazy, both of those videos. So we're doing a third one because there's so many third-party releases for the Switch that I could do many of these. I'm not gonna like do them like all the time, probably like 2 top 10s like this a year. But anyways, let's get into the list. Coming in number 10 is a game that I am still trying to figure out what exactly the story is of this, as it's an incredibly unique and I don't know how to describe this game. It's just amazing when you jump into it. That's Blue Fire. This is a game I recently picked up a few months ago because I was looking through the Switch titles and I saw this game right here on GameStop. It was on sale for $25 and looking at the back of the game, it looked really crazy. So I went ahead and picked it up and I'm still currently playing it right now. But this game's beautiful. It's an indie game. $25 indie game with this being beautiful. Its story is something that I'm still figuring out. I'm guessing it's one of those games that you continue to play, you learn more about the story, and by the end of the game, you know the game's true purpose. And I like when games do that. I love when games do this. It is an explorer game, I guess is what you would call it. It is the kid version of Dark Souls. No, the game isn't that difficult. But it has a lot of puzzles within this world, and this world of Blue Fire seems like it's just so beautiful. This game is beautiful. I'm not even sure if this is like a Switch exclusive or not. I don't know much about this game. I don't even know how I found this, but look out for this game. This is a good game. This is number 10 on my list, Blue Fire, and I want to know if you guys pick up this after, like from this video specifically, come back to me. Let me know what you think about this game. If you're like me and you're wondering why Batman is not on the Nintendo Switch yet in terms of the Arkham series, fear not, because we do have a Batman game on the Switch. It's not the Arkham series. I still don't know what's happening with that. That would be amazing on the Switch. That should have been like one of the first games that Warner Brothers put on the Switch, especially with how Warner Brothers has been supporting the Switch. Why is the Batman Arkham games not on the Switch? Anyways, we got the Batman Telltale series. A lot of people are not realizing that Telltale is back, but that doesn't matter. This game is physically all on one cartridge. This is the physical copy, and I've been trying to tell people that I believe the physical copy of this game is going to end up being one of the rarest Switch games out there. With one of the main reasons being is that all the episodes of the Telltale series is on one cartridge. Not many Telltale games have that capability. Minecraft Story Mode on the Switch has all the episodes on one cartridge. Batman Telltale series surprisingly looks pretty well for the Switch. The frame rate is a little out there, but you gotta consider that Batman the Telltale series was one of the early Switch titles out there. And if you consider that, because the third parties, we didn't reach peak development of third party development with that in terms of reaching the Switch at its highest. I mean, we did get Doom the same year as the Switch came out, but I would say that probably 95% of the third-party games that came out at the time for first year of the Switch weren't that great in terms of porting. It wasn't bad, but it was nothing special. And this, at the time, this game was only on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and this was one of those PlayStation, Xbox at the time next-gen console games that ended up being on the Switch. Many thought that that wasn't possible for the Switch because of how weak it is. Batman Telltale series is amazing. You got the second season of the Telltale series actually on the Switch, eShop only, unfortunately, but I am a fan of the Telltale series. I'm a big fan of the Arkham series, and having this on the Switch, I'm loving it since it feels my Arkham love, even though I really want the Arkham series. Please get on that, Warner Brothers. But this is a great game that is perfect for your Nintendo Switch collection, and just from a storytelling experience, any Telltale game is amazing to have. This one, I'm 50-50 on this one, because I almost did not put this on the list. I almost didn't. Because if you have another console, I would highly recommend that you play it on there rather than the Nintendo Switch. But for what the game is, it's pretty incredible that this is on the Switch. And that game that I'm talking about is Ghost Runner. Like I said, the Switch version doesn't look graphically the best. I think it's one of those games that they sacrificed the graphics to have a good frame rate. This, best way I can describe this is it is parkour. It's a parkour game where if you get hit, you have to start up, and like that current level, unless you get a checkpoint. And you get to fight villains, enemies, that type of stuff. It's pretty fun. It is actually really fun, a unique game that I have a lot of fun playing, and a lot of times you get this game for like less than $20. So for that type of experience, it's well worth it for under 20. But we go back into the Switch version of it not being graphically great, and then there's one big issue with the game, which it's not, if you get used to it, you can get used to it and outplay the game. But basically, the enemies can be hitting you, but you don't see them because of how the Switch is, how weak the system is. You can't see that enemy from all the way over there. So you're just getting magical bullets coming out of nowhere, and you can't see them because the Switch you can't handle from that far away. There's a lot to consider, but it's honestly not a bad port. It's just, I think this is one of those games that probably shouldn't have came to the Switch, but it's also not a bad port. Like, you gotta accept it for what it is. Coming in number 7, wait, hold up. Before we proceed any further with the Nintendo Switch top 10 third-party games you should buy, #3 Nintendo Switch guide video, we gotta talk. If you have not heard already, I have been streaming like crazy on a different platform, not YouTube. I'm getting a lot of questions where I've been streaming. I don't stream on YouTube anymore. We are on Twitch. We have been streaming twice a week. You gotta be there. We're right now doing a Pokemon Nuzlocke. We've been opening Pokemon cards on stream. We've been playing Nintendo Switch multiplayer games live with viewers. It's been a crazy experience. We just did a Layers of Fear playthrough. You guys gotta be there. Look at the description below. Follow me. It's MonadoMax TV on Twitch.com. Be on there. Follow. We just hit 75 followers. I haven't even done that well advertising. I want to see you there. Number 7. I really did not think I would ever have a game with a cover like this in my collection, let alone talking about it in a video. And let me just say that this is the honestly, probably one of the craziest games I've ever played. I'm not going to try to go too deep into the spoilers. I'm actually not going to spoil anything at all. But this game is not what you think it is. And I understand why people recommended me this game. Coming in number 7 is Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, again, this is a crazy game. This is a crazy game. We actually streamed this before. We streamed the whole game. And that is probably one of the craziest games I have ever played. I can't believe what happened in that game. But anyways, that game goes on sale frequently also for 20 bucks. It is free on PC, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong about that. But there is multiple ways of playing that game. There's nothing really special about the Switch port. It runs just as well as any other platform. It's just cool to have a game like that on the Switch. I don't know if you want to play that game portable, to be honest. That's a game you probably don't want to be around somebody and then they look on your screen and see that scene happen, because no. But it's a fun game, crazy experience. It's a short game. Look into it if you want to know what the game is. I have a lot of younger audiences that watch my videos, so don't look into that game about how dark that game is. The only reason why this game that I'm about to talk about is on the list is because I am craving for Left 4 Dead 2 on the Switch. I'm craving for a good Left 4 Dead game in general. A brand new game in the series. I mean, I, for one, wasn't actually I didn't mind Back 4 Blood. It's just nobody played it with me, so I was done with that game real fast. Anyways, coming in number 6 is World War Z. This is basically Left 4 Dead for the Switch. This is a game that's on other platforms. I don't believe it's cross-platform, and that's probably the only real disappointing thing about this game, is that it's no cross-platform. But the World War Z has all of the DLC, I'm pretty sure, on the cartridge, if I do recall. So you have pretty much the complete game on here. It is a newer Switch release, so it goes for about 40 to 50 bucks. But if you can find a squad of people that has this game on their Switch, you are bound to have a lot of fun. It graphically looks a little rough on the edges of certain areas of the game, but it's pretty good port. I'm actually pretty impressed with it, especially with the amount of zombies that can come at you in this game. It's pretty incredible how well this runs on the Switch, and I would highly recommend this game. It all depends if you can find people to play with. If you're just having a single player fun journey, I wouldn't, not for 50 bucks. I wouldn't recommend it for 50 bucks for single player. If you can find this for 20 bucks, which I'm sure it will drop down to 20 eventually, I think it's well worth it for 20 for single player content. Coming in number 5 is Destroy All Humans. This game is really funny. I had a lot of fun playing this game. I never played the PlayStation 2 version. And this is a remake based off the first Destroy All Humans on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, all those consoles. It's on the PlayStation 4. It was out on the PlayStation 4 for a while, and then they brought this last year over to the Switch. And I was incredibly impressed with this port. Considering it's a remake, a lot of people didn't think this was actually going to come to the Switch, since this type of game is, the audience for it is targeted towards the Switch. At least I think it's going to be biggest on Switch at the time. If this game came out with all other platforms day one, the release for the Switch would have been the biggest release for it. A lot of people didn't think it was going to come to the Switch because of how graphically amazing it looked, because it looked really nice. It actually looks really nice. And while the game doesn't look as great as the other platforms, it still amazes me how well it actually looks. It looks beautiful. I will say that I have encountered some frame rate issues when it comes to this game, but overall, I don't care. The story, the dialogue, the gameplay kept me so interested in this game that I didn't pay attention to that frame rate. I had so much fun with this. The voice acting was great, and I'm actually meeting one of the voice actors in this game at Too Many Games later this month. So I'm pretty happy for that. And this game is also another cheaper third-party Switch port out there. It's a $40 game, but it will go on sale for 20 bucks every now and then. So definitely keep an eye on it. It is definitely it's worth $40. I would pay retail price for this game. I did pay it. I bought this day one. It was amazing. I had so much fun. Coming in number 4 is a game that I wish I played more of. One of the reasons why I didn't play more of it was because I got stuck. I needed help. I never received that help. And that game is Shin Megami Tensei 3. It came out on the Switch last year. I picked it up day one. I fell in love with this world. I don't know much about this world other than that, you know, one of my favorite games, Persona 5, is a spin-off of Shin Megami Tensei. And ever since I played that, I wanted to play Shin Megami Tensei. This was my first Shin Megami Tensei game. And I think I'm about 10 hours into the game. I had so much fun. This game is incredible. Bro, this game is awesome. I wish I had a chance to play more. I really did. But I couldn't get past that boss, so I gave up. But the world of this has you intrigued. How the game starts up, there's so many questions. You continue to play with more questions being thrown at you, with some answers being there. You have Dante from the Devil May Cry series in this game. The best part is, this game is like almost a 100-hour game. The Nintendo Switch is the best platform to play this game because it runs great, it looks great, overall it looks beautiful. This game right here, it's perfect for the Switch because portability is going to be one of your key factors with this game because you're going to be able to beat this faster than PlayStation 4 because that's going to be stuck at home. This portability, any game that's over 100 hours long should automatically be on the Switch. Buy this game, it goes on sale for 20 bucks again. Another amazing title that goes on sale frequently. Number 3 is probably one of the coolest creations to come out this year in terms of video games. Something that I don't think people thought was actually going to come out because of how long we had to wait for this game. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Star Wars is something I'm very passionate about. I'm sure it's something very passionate with you guys in the comments below. But one of the key things that brought me into Star Wars was the Lego Star Wars games. I played all the Lego Star Wars games. That's my introduction to the Star Wars series. Playing those, I had so much fun. I had so many fond memories. This being a game that has all 9 of the episodes of Star Wars into one game, and also having the first 6 episodes, the ones that I played before on other platforms with the Lego Star Wars games, this was such a incredibly unique idea. Pretty much remade with today's graphics, voice acting. Granted, it's not the actors from Star Wars, but I also accept that that's really expensive to get those guys into this, but we have all 9 episodes into one game in Lego form, all in one cartridge. You don't get games like this all the time. This is truly one of those special things. It looks beautiful on the Switch. Frame rates, I've honestly not run into any frame rate issues when it comes to Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and I'm quite impressed with that. Because I felt like the Switch version was going to be kind of sidelined, but no, this game runs amazing. It looks amazing. Pick this up. It is a new release, so it's about a $60 game still, so keep that in mind. Number 2 is a game series that we need more on the Nintendo Switch, and I think we are going to get more eventually. That's the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So I'm sure everyone here watched the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, and you're like, you know what? After seeing that, I want to be a lawyer, attorney,
judge, that type of stuff. Well, you can't be a judge in this game, but you want to be an attorney? Boom! This series got you, the Great Ace Attorney. Now, if you were to choose from this and the Ace Attorney Trilogy, or the Phoenix Wright Trilogy, whatever it's called on the Switch, I would definitely go with the Phoenix Wright Trilogy. Those games are way better. But this is also a pretty unique game series. This game it's amazing. We never got these games over to America, what Great Ace Attorney is. It's given us, I believe, what was the first 2 Great Ace Attorney games in Japan was brought over here to the Switch for the first time forever. This game is fun. I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but the story is very interesting. Phoenix Wright Phoenix Wright Trilogy is also amazing. Pick up both of these games. So this next game, gonna be completely honest, I think this game right here that I'm about to show you guys, in my honest opinion, is the best third-party port that was ever on the Switch so far. I was incredibly impressed with this one. I still can't believe they got this on the Switch. And that game that I'm talking about is Dying Light. This game came out last year on the Nintendo Switch. It was very unexpectedly announced. I was like, there is no way this is gonna look good. There is no way this is gonna run good. There is just no way this is gonna be like Outer Worlds 2.0. We got the game, I played it, I was blown away. Yes, there is a graphical difference. For portability, this is amazing. And it isn't like Witcher 3 where you're taking a massive sacrifice just to play that game portable. This looks great still. This runs great still. Play it on your handheld OLED screen and it looks beautiful. The world of Dying Light is amazing. I had not had the chance to play the second one, but being able to play the first one all over again on Nintendo Switch has been absolutely amazing. And I just still can't believe that this game right here is on the Switch. There's many games that I can't believe is on the Switch. Both of the Doom games, Doom Eternal, Dying Light, Witcher 3, if developers put the time, which you can tell that developers put in a lot of time for Dying Light to come to the Switch, same with Witcher 3. You can get your game running on the Switch, it just takes longer compared to other platforms. I feel like 90% of the games out there could run on the Switch, it's just people don't want to take the time to develop. One of my favorite series on this channel is talking about third-party games for the Nintendo Switch, because I love the Nintendo Switch. I mean, I think it's very obvious that I love the Nintendo Switch. Especially if you look at the channel. I mean, not to flex, but we have so many Nintendo Switch videos on the channel. But it's time that we do yet another video in the top 10 best third-party Nintendo Switch games of all time for the Nintendo Switch. I absolutely love the fact that you guys love these videos to death because every single one of them has performed like crazy. The first video in this series is almost my top video on this channel. And it really makes me happy because discussing third-party games, honestly, to me, makes the Nintendo Switch such a cool concept to talk about because there's good ports, bad ports, mixed ports. There's a lot of cool discussions with the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is one of my favorite systems of all time, probably my favorite of all time, to be completely honest. And I think part of that reason is these third-party games. Not only are the first-party games great on the Nintendo Switch, but third-party has been something that Nintendo has always struggled with their consoles, and I think with the Switch, it's got their best third-party lineup yet out of any Nintendo system. Now, without further ado, let's get into this top 10 list, because we got some bangers. We have a lot of bangers, actually. We've had some of our best third-party games come out for the Nintendo Switch, I would say, since the last video that we did, which I think it was like either 6 or 7 months when we did that video. By the way, this is what it looks like. Go check that video out. Check all the other videos that we've done when it comes to this top 10 series, because we've done a lot of top 10s just for the Switch, but also third-party games. Let's get into number 10. So, going into number 10, we have something that I'm very surprised that I never talked about on this channel when it comes to these videos. I don't know why I didn't talk about it, because this is actually a pretty impressive Switch port for multiple reasons, but there is some issues with that. But coming in number 10 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Now, this game is a game that I'll never forget when it got announced at the Nintendo Direct.
I believe it was September 2017, if I remember exactly, that Bethesda came on the Nintendo Direct out of nowhere to announce Wolfenstein 2 and Doom 2016 was coming into the Nintendo Switch. I'll never forget that everybody was like, what? Doom 2016? That's like super mature. How are they going to get that game on the Switch? And then Wolfenstein 2, a game that was coming to current gen consoles at the time that year, for it to come out on the Nintendo Switch, everyone was mind blown because it showed that the Switch can handle these major AAA third-party games. Obviously, it took almost a whole year later for the game to come out than it should have, but Panic Button, the same team that's done some of the best third-party ports for the Nintendo Switch, developed this, and they did such a spectacular job. Now, there's places in the game that look really rough. However, you gotta consider that you're playing a Switch version, and you also have to do the updates for this game if you want it to run good, look good, all of that good stuff. But I was very impressed for the fact that they were able to get this game on the Nintendo Switch. There's some issues that I have with this version of the game though, and you'll already see it with the physical copy. A micro SD card is required for this game. This game, I believe, I don't remember how many gigabytes it took on my Switch, but I know I had to remove this off my Nintendo Switch because it took too much storage. I think this honestly might have taken more than Mortal Kombat 11, which Mortal Kombat 11 takes a lot of storage. So Wolfenstein, I remember taking, I think, well over 40. So that's my one con with this version of the game, because I never got the chance to complete it just because it took up too much space. But this is a game well worth it, because you can also get the physical copy of this game for less than 20 bucks. So Wolfenstein 2, if you played the first Wolfenstein, this is a game that should be added to your third-party Switch list. Coming in number 9 is probably one of the most unexpected games to ever come out in general for all consoles, and that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. Now, if you're me, you've heard how great these old classics were back in the day when it comes to the Turtle games. The Turtle games have probably been some of the most talked about games when it comes to arcades and consoles. You got Turtles in Time, and then you got the Turtles arcade games that are always talked about. And you know, I wanted to talk about Shredder's Revenge in this video, however, I like doing these videos when I own a physical copy, so you'll probably see Shredder's Revenge in the next top 10 video when it comes to third-party games. But we also had the Cowabunga Collection come out this year, and it's crazy. You have so many Turtle games all in one collection. You got the first, I don't even remember how many, I think it's like 8 games in here, all in one collection, and you can switch from the console versions into the arcade versions from my understanding. And online multiplayer, all for $40, which, by the way, this game goes on sale very frequently. I just saw it on Black Friday for $20. So the fact that you can get all of this $20 to $40, depending how long you wait, this is well worth the money, especially if you have friends over, because you got that co-op, because you know Turtles is known for the co-op and the online, well, it's not known for online, it has online play added onto here. And one of the cool things about this is you can change the format how you play. You can do classic style, you can do widescreen. There's a lot of different ways of playing these games. This game is very special towards those Turtle fans that played these classics as a kid. It is very much tailored towards them and tailored towards a new audience. Definitely pick this one up. Coming in number 8 is a game that I wish I would have had more time to play, but I can tell right off the bat that this game is very colorful, runs amazing for the Switch, and just overall a fun time. That game is no other than Pac-Man World Repack. This is also another game that I feel like, again, came out of nowhere. You know, obviously Pac-Man World on the PlayStation 1 is a game that a lot of people talked about back in the day, and I never got a chance to play that one. I played, I believe it was Pac-Man World 2 on the PlayStation 2, I believe is what I played. And that was a fun game. I don't know if down the road they're going to put all the Pac-Man World games on the Switch, but that would be really cool. I think this game runs amazing for the Switch. It runs at a locked 30 if I do remember correctly, but the game is so colorful. I don't know how to describe it, but when I played this on the Switch OLED screen, the colors of Pac-Man and all the characters with the combination of the OLED just look so gorgeous.
This game looks beautiful, and again, another cheap game. Without it being on sale, it is a $30 game. When it's on sale, it's $20, and it is honestly very surprising that they gave this game at such a low price, because Bandai Namco could have easily got $40, $50 out of this game, and people would have bought it. So this is one to be looking out for the Switch collection. Definitely pick this one up if you do not own it already. Coming in number 7 is honestly a game series that is very special to me, because I played these ones in the arcade. I haven't played all of them, but the fact that this came to the Switch, again, another game that got announced last year that was just like, wow, they're remaking that? That game is no other than the House of the Dead. Now, this game, it's awesome. I think the remake is great. I think a lot of people didn't like the remake. I think a lot of the die-hard fans did not like it, but I think, me personally, I enjoyed it very much. I can't wait, I cannot wait when hopefully they remake the rest of the series. House of the Dead 2 is the one that's very special to me, because I played that one. I believe that's the one that I played with my friend Nathan at the arcades a lot. We actually beat it, and I think we got the top score at our local bowling alley. We played that game to death. That game was super fun. I really hope they can bring that one over to the Switch soon, because that's going to be super fun. And again, another situation where it's a classic, remade, ready to play with other people, and also another cheap game. One of the things that I like about doing the series so much is I'm able to show you guys good games that go on sale very frequently, and a lot of you guys talk about how I'm able to save you guys so much money. So again, while this is not a $60 game, it's still a great game. It doesn't have to be $60 for it to be a good game, guys. I believe House of the Dead is a $30 game. The physical copy might, actually, digitally it's $25, physically it's $40. It's ridiculous that the physical copy is more expensive, but it is well worth it. The game looks amazing on the Switch. I don't know if it's exclusive to the Switch. It might be like a one-year exclusive to the Switch, because there's no way that they made this a Switch exclusive. But this game looks beautiful, plays like the classic version. You have multiple different modes that can inspire the classic. You got difficulties. There's so much cool stuff with the House of Dead. This is one to definitely pick up for the Nintendo Switch. I feel like I have to put a game from this series on this list, considering there are so many games from this series onto the Nintendo Switch. However, all of them kind of sucked. Well, the new game was actually really good. I just was not a fan of the Switch version. But what is that game that you're talking about? I'm talking about the Sonic series. Coming in number 6 is Sonic Mania. Now, Sonic Mania is absolutely an amazing 2D Sonic game. It is made by the fans, quite literally. It is made by the fans. I don't even know how Sega was just like, yeah, we're going to hire you guys to make a Sonic game. It was a 2D Sonic game, absolutely amazing. This is a game that goes on the eShop for like $3 very frequently. The physical copy is like $20, so you would save money buying it digitally, but I love physical copies, so I'm always gonna buy a physical copy of a game if it's out there. However, Sonic Mania is well worth your time and the money, as it's just such a fantastic game, and in my opinion, the only good Sonic game on the Nintendo Switch. I think Sonic Frontiers is a great game. I just was not a fan of the Switch version, and I think we needed some Sonic in our lives in the series, because we've never talked about a Sonic game on this channel. Sonic Mania, however, is well worth your time and is number 6 on the list. Number 5, I could be hypocritical here since I just told you that I was not a fan of the Sonic Frontiers Switch port, and I don't know if people are going to be the biggest fans of this Switch port. However, I enjoyed my time with it, and I don't think that the Nintendo Switch is really at fault when it comes to this particular game, and we're going to go into why. But coming in number 5 is the Life is Strange collection. Now, this is a game that came out a few months ago on the Nintendo Switch, and this is one series that I was hoping comes to the Switch, and we got some of those games this year onto the Nintendo Switch. And this collection came physically, which, by the way, this is the only platform, the Nintendo Switch, to only get a physical copy of the series when it comes to this collection. I was very surprised by that. But I think that graphically, the Switch version doesn't look the greatest, because they are going with the remastered versions that came out last year. Or actually, no, they came out earlier this year. However, the remastered versions never looked great on current gen consoles, and there was a lot of complaints about that. So I think literally the team that did this literally just took the remastered collection, throw it on the Switch, like they took a PS5 version of the game, throw it on the Switch, didn't optimize it or anything like that. Because some of the models look very weird, but again, I think part of it is because it's the remastered version. The remastered engine that they throw it on, a lot of these models look very weird on the current gen consoles. So I'm not blaming it on the Switch when it comes to that. The storyline of Life is Strange is absolutely amazing, and it's something that I will never forget. Absolutely one of the craziest games that I have ever played. And if you've not played Life is Strange yet, you need to buy this, because surprisingly, this was $40. I've not seen it go on sale yet, because it is a newer release. But I'm surprised that they launched this for $40, because I'm pretty sure it was $50 on the PS5, Series X, all those guys, when it came out in February. So still an amazing game, all in one cartridge, except Before the Storm. I haven't played Before the Storm yet. Buy it. Coming in number 4 is again another game that I'm surprised I didn't talk about. Like I didn't think about this being a third-party game, but this is a third-party game. That game is no other than Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Now this game is very crazy to me because Ultimate Alliance, the first one, is one of the very first games that I ever played that I really grew an attachment to when it comes to video games in general. If it wasn't for Ultimate Alliance, I probably would not be as big of a nerd as I am now. As you can see, I'm a big Marvel fan. We got some of that in the background while being a Nintendo fan, and I think Ultimate Alliance is a big part of my life that made me the person that I am today. So when Ultimate Alliance 3 just got announced out of nowhere at the Game Awards, for it to be also a Nintendo Switch exclusive out of nowhere, I was absolutely mind blown because it was my two favorite things put together basically. And Ultimate Alliance 3 is amazing because it has every current up-to-date roster of all the big Marvel heroes, like X-Men and Fantastic Four is in this. I could not believe it because at the time we had not seen X-Men and Fantastic Four in the MCU yet, and how Marvel was, they don't do anything unless it's in the MCU when it comes to their comics and video games. And they put the X-Men and Fantastic Four in there, and it was awesome. It was the first time done in years where all of the special Marvel characters, to me, were in one game. All the Spider-Man characters, all the X-Men characters, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fantastic Four, all of them were together in one game. It felt like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of the Marvel Universe because there was such an amazing roster here, and the game runs amazing for the Nintendo Switch because there's a lot of enemies thrown at you, and I'm surprised how well the game is still running on the Switch with that in mind. And the storyline is very interesting, and just overall the gameplay very similar to the old Ultimate Alliance games. This is definitely paying tribute to those games, and it's just such a special game and well worth the money and time. It is a little bit more of an expensive game because Nintendo did publish it, even though it's a third-party game. So it's hard to find that game on sale. It's pretty much $60 all the time, but it's worth it. Coming in number 3 is also, or honestly, these next 3 games that we're about to talk about are probably all equally the best Nintendo Switch port that I've played. All of them are just amazing. But we gotta talk about each one and why they're great and why. Just why. Coming in number 3 is No Man's Sky. This Nintendo Switch port is honestly absolutely mind-blowing. Honestly, the story of No Man's Sky is crazy. Because when this game came out in 2016, I believe is when the game came out, nobody liked No Man's Sky because it was a giant lie, basically. Very similar to what people would say about Cyberpunk 2077. No Man's Sky was not the game that it was supposed to be. It wasn't a glitchy mess or anything, it was just a lot of lies. And despite all the controversy with No Man's Sky, Hello Games still developed No Man's Sky. Today they're still developing it, giving you updates, and it's actually crazy because the game has finally been what it should have been a long time ago. So it is very impressive. This is probably one of the best Nintendo Switch ports because it graphically looks amazing. I don't know how, it runs amazing too. The only problem I would say with the Switch version is there's a lot of shadow issues where the shadows are not moving correctly and they just look very weird. But other than that, this game is very peaceful. It calms me down when I'm stressed out, and it's well worth the $60. It's a new release, so it's going to be $60 for a while, but definitely pick up No Man's Sky because it is one of the best Switch ports I've ever played, and honestly, No Man's Sky is just such a good game. The only complaint I would have is the shadows, and there's no online mode. However, the developers of the game have said if people really want the online mode into the Switch version, they'll do it. They just didn't launch with the online mode because they were not thinking it was going to be successful, is what it sounds like. But this is one of the best Switch ports of all time and well worth your $60. Go pick it up. Coming in number 2 is a game that we actually did a full-on video review because of how amazing this Switch port was, which, by the way, this game was so good that I even called it the best Nintendo Switch port, and then another Switch port came out like 2 weeks after it where it was the best Switch port. It's actually crazy how all 3 of the final 3 games that we're talking about all came out around the same time. It's crazy, but yeah, it just goes to show how well the Switch is now when it comes to developing and how you can get any game on the Switch as long as you put the time and effort to it. But coming in number 2 is Nier Automata, a game that nobody expected to ever come to the Nintendo Switch. It was one of those games that was highly requested to the Nintendo Switch once it came out back in 2017. However, nobody thought it was possible. You know, I think it was exclusive to PlayStation for a few months, and then it came to Xbox, and then people were like, can it come to Switch, please? And then nothing happened, and then here we are. A few years later, it's finally on the Switch, and it launched at $40, which is actually crazy to me. Square Enix could have easily got away with $60 for this game because people would have paid for it. Not to mention how much effort went into this Switch port. Guys, Nier Automata is 1080p, 30 frames per second docked. The game in resolution is better than it is on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. On PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, the game is like 920p or something, or 900. And on the Switch, it's 1080p. And in docked mode, 720p locked too. This game runs amazing, looks beautiful. It literally hits every check mark of a Switch port. It honestly does a Switch port way better than anything else before. Like, it's actually crazy. Nier Automata in general is just such a fun game and is well worth your time. It's just crazy to me that this is finally on the Switch because it was one of those things that if it came to the Switch, everyone was like, yeah, it's gonna run awful, it's just not gonna be a good Switch port. But here we are, it's on the Switch, all in one cartridge, got even the DLC in there, all for $40. And I think on Black Friday, it actually went on sale for $30. So it's gonna go on sale every now and then, so it's well worth your money. Go pick it up. It's also a very unique game if you like that Bayonetta gameplay style. I guess that's what you would call it, a hack and slash. It's a very difficult game, in all honesty. Very tough game, but that's kind of what the point of the game was. It's supposed to be a very difficult game. It has an interesting story and a very difficult gameplay. It's a very difficult gameplay. That's the best way to describe it. Go pick it up. $40, well worth it. One of the best Switch ports, maybe the best Switch port. Coming in number 1 is a game that is very special to me because it was probably my most highly requested game to come to the Nintendo Switch. And here we are, it finally comes to the Nintendo Switch and is the best Nintendo Switch port in my opinion. What is that game? It's actually, we did a whole dedicated video on this one too. That game is no other than Persona 5 Royal. This game is absolutely amazing on the Nintendo Switch because this is a 100-hour plus game. If you have a game that is 50 plus hours, you need to do everything in your power to put that game on the Nintendo Switch. I don't care who you are, but nobody has time to play an 100 plus hour game on a PlayStation Xbox. People got jobs. Obviously, teenagers has got a little bit more time than adults. But I have 2 jobs here. I do YouTube and I do an actual full-time 40 plus hour job. I need games on the Switch, that way I can play it on the go whenever I want, in bed, all that good stuff. Persona 5 is the perfect game to be on the Switch, and it doesn't make sense why it took this long for it to come to the Nintendo Switch, but it's here on the Nintendo Switch. It looks amazing, runs amazing, the game in general is amazing. It is well worth the time, the money. It's $60, it's a new release, so it's not gonna go on sale. I don't think it's gonna go on sale, not for the next few months. But if you have the chance to get it,
you need to play this game because the game is so special, especially if you don't know any of the spoilers when it comes to this game. This game is very special and honestly one of my favorite games of all time. Probably now that I've beaten it, I just need to beat it on the Switch. Even though it's on the Switch now, I still don't have time to play it on the Switch because I gotta play other games to do game videos on, reviews, all that good stuff. It sucks being an adult, but the game's worth it. All these games that we talked about are well worth it, and Persona 5 Royal is the best Nintendo Switch port out there. I'm gonna say it. I mean, honestly, these 3 games right here, these last 3 games that we talked about are probably the best Nintendo Switch ports. They are incredible. Hey, what's going on everyone? MonadoMax here, and today we are back with my Nintendo Switch, and we're doing our favorite videos, which is talking about third-party games on the Nintendo Switch. This is our 5th episode doing a top 10 list when it comes to third-party games. We've talked about 50 third-party Nintendo Switch games. These videos have always been some of my most popular videos that I've made on the channel, with the very first part about to be my top video on this channel, which is mind-blowing to me. Coleman, my editor, is going to show the thumbnails of the whole series. If you guys have not watched that yet, definitely check it out. It mind blows me that this is a series that people keep coming back to the channel, keep being hungry for it. It makes me excited because I love playing third-party games. I love finding the good, the bad when it comes to Nintendo Switch third-party ports. It's a great discussion. Love doing these videos, and I'm so excited to talk about yet another 10 games that are amazing for the Nintendo Switch when it comes to third-party games. Now, sit back, enjoy. We're going to be diving into a lot of unexpected games, a lot of expected games, because a lot of you guys pointed out some missing titles that I didn't have in the last part, but we're doing it now. We're getting some of those games. So let's go ahead and drop into number 10. Coming in, number 10 is going to be a little bit controversial, but I need to show this off because I spent $30 for this terrible joke that I made in one of my Christmas specials, and then I've done nothing with this game ever since. So I'm late to the party with this. This should have been something that was like in the first part of the series, but we're doing it. This is going to be the only weird game that you guys are going to be like, why did you put that there? Coming in, number 10 is Among Us. Okay, hear me out, guys. Among Us for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, everyone still plays Among Us. It's a great game. It's great. It's a great multiplayer online game. If you have no friends, you have no reason to buy that game.
I guess you have no reason to play it then, Max.
There is not enough single-player content for you to spend $5, I think is what it is, digitally. I think I paid $40 for a physical copy. I'm an idiot. I did some stupid joke for my Christmas special, but it's honestly a very fun game if you can get the right amount of people with you. I think you have max of 15 players. You're basically a murder mystery game. I don't have to explain what Among Us is. Among Us was at one point one of the most popular games. It was more popular than I think Minecraft at one point in the COVID timeline. So get Among Us, pretty fun game. I would not recommend the physical copy. I just bought it as a joke because why is there a physical copy for Among Us? A $5 game gets a physical copy. But yeah, I've never opened it because I already have it digitally. It's $5 and I think it goes on sale for like $2 like all the time. So it's well worth your time, especially if you have players. Let's get on to the other games because I know more people are going to be more interested in the 9 other games. Wow, I'm so glad that I got to show this off in another video. I'm putting my $40, well, I'm using my $40 very well now. Coming in, number 9. This might be a controversial take what I'm about to say, but I think this game is way better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And that game is Temtem. Now, I have just started playing this. I'm about 2 hours into the game, just because I've been wanting to play a good Pokemon game for the Switch. In my opinion, the only 2 good Pokemon games on the Switch are Pokemon Let's Go and the Pokemon Legends Arceus. Those are the only good Pokemon games, and I've already played those. I want to experience something new, so I'm playing this right now. But there is a little bit of some disappointing things, which we're going to go over in just a second. But first of all, this is a online multiplayer Pokemon ripoff, basically. It is very much Pokemon inspired. It's like one of those fan-made games that you would find like a decade ago when you guys were like looking for free Pokemon games online, and you know how people would make their own fan-made Pokemon games? This is basically that, but they have their own characters, their own creatures. It is very much like Pokemon, and it looks and runs amazing on Nintendo Switch.
it runs better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Why that's even a thing? This game should not be running better than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's a third-party game. I think an indie team made it, which nothing wrong with indie games. It's just the fact that an indie game is doing a Pokemon game better than the Pokemon team. Bro, Pokemon Company, Game Freak, you need to get on it. Maybe buy this team. This was a very fun game. Some of the disappointing things about this, though, is you have to be connected online at all times because it's an MMO. In case you guys don't know, it's a massive multiplayer online game. So you're going to be encountering players. You don't have to do anything with them, but you have to be online at all times, which is a little bit disappointing because this game does have a story mode. It is a single player game, but you're forced to have online on at all times. So whenever those servers shut down, this game is bye-bye, and you have to have Nintendo Switch Online. So this is a $45 game, plus you gotta buy Nintendo Switch Online. So this is coming out to be like a $60 game. And I try my best to not get all the $60 games into one video for you guys, because I look at these videos as, you know, price guide kind of, in times. I try to be reasonable with the prices with these games. But if you're wanting a Pokemon experience and not have been happy with the recent Pokemon games, look at Temtem, because it's well worth it. Coming in number 8 is 2 Point Campus. Now this was a very interesting Nintendo Switch release. I don't know if the other platforms got this, because I believe this game has already been out on PlayStation and other platforms for a while. The Switch version came late, just as always. When it came out, you got this little nice box with it. It came with like an art book and all that cool stuff. I thought that was pretty nice. They didn't have to do that, but they did it anyways. It was pretty cool, pretty cool. But 2 Point Campus, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled to understand the game at first, and then I understood it later. It just took me way longer than it should have. I felt like an idiot playing 2 Point Campus, but once I got through it, I was having fun, and if I had more time, I would be putting a lot of hours into 2 Point Campus. I believe this game is $30, if I'm correct. It's basically a My Sims clone, or My Sims, just a Sims clone in general, but for Nintendo, a little bit different. You're making your own campus. It's very interesting. You're taking care of students, you're making the students happy, added things to the campus, bring in money, make sure you're profiting, hiring people. So a little bit different than Sims, but it has very similar Sims gameplay, if that makes sense. This is a very interesting game with some of the things that you can do. One thing that I thought was interesting, like, that I just wasn't expecting this game to do. So you have to hire a janitor at one point in the game because you have to build bathrooms into the game. I wasn't expecting them to have like a whole dedicated gameplay feature of the game talking about having a clogged toilet. So this game can be pretty funny at times. It's just random, some of the things that are happening in this game. And I am very excited to play more of it because I know the game gets further and further deep into some other things that I'm very excited to play. So if you want Sims on the Switch, which I don't know why EA has not been putting that on the Switch. They've been starting to develop games for the Switch, but they're putting games that people really did not want. Like, I don't know. I feel like all their big games that would go well on Switch are not on the Switch yet, and it's idiotic moves from EA. But 2 Point Campus is worth your time and worth your money, and is number 8 on the list. Coming in number 7 is a game that a lot of you guys got mad at me for not talking about in my top 10 horror games for Nintendo Switch, but at the time I had not played this yet. Now I have, and I'm with you. I wish I would have put this on the Switch also. Number 7 is Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater. Now this game, it immediately got hooked onto the game when I saw the opening of the game, when you hit start game, because that was an interesting opening. I am a big horror fan. I don't talk about it much, but I love horror. That's why I have so many horror games on my Nintendo Switch. That's why I have an $100 edition of Outlast, because I love Outlast so much. But Fatal Frame, very interesting game. I know this was a game that came out on the Wii U, the Maiden of Blackwater one. I don't know how many Fatal Frame games there are, so I don't know where this fits in the Fatal Frame timeline, so this is the only Fatal Frame I have played. But this is well worth your time. This game has a very dark story that immediately gets dark very fast. Talks about things that I just wasn't expecting. And the gameplay features, they're unique when it comes to defeating ghosts. You can see how the Wii U gamepad was used on this game. And I'm surprised they were able to implement the game still with how important the Wii U gamepad was. but they did it very nicely. And I think this is on other platforms. I'm kind of interested in playing it on other platforms. I think graphically it looks great. I was streaming it for one of my friends. They felt like the graphics weren't that great. I didn't run into any frame rate issues with the game, but I mean, there's no graphics improvement that, from my understanding, from the Wii U version. So it's kind of just like a remaster, just a flat port, basically. There's no physical copy in America. Now, I know a lot of people are like, how did you get a physical copy? That looks like an American physical copy. It's not. In the UK, for some reason, they got a physical copy, but us, we didn't get one. The Switch releases for some of these third-party games are weird when it comes to physical copies. But I think the game digitally is like a $40 game. Well worth it, and probably goes on sale a lot. That is number 7 on my list. It is very well worth your time. Number 6 is another very interesting game that I'm actually surprised I haven't talked about this, because I've owned this for a few years now, and I have talked pretty well about this Switch port, but I've never talked about it in these videos. Very surprised that I haven't. But coming in number 6 is the Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Gaiden, however you want to say it. I think Gaiden sounds better, but I don't know. Ninja Gaiden. But the Ninja Gaiden Trilogy is on Nintendo Switch digitally, which again, in America, it didn't come here physically, but it has all 3 of the 3D games. And this game's combat, I think, is very interesting. If you're a fan of that Devil May Cry gameplay style, or what I would call Ghost Rider, because that was my first. I don't know what the genre of this would be called. I know my editor Coleman is going to be killing me.
I'm Max. I like my stupid little Ghost Rider game that is a hack and slash. Nobody has ever played this game before, but I like it so much, and I don't know what the genre is. This is why someone beat the ever-living crap out of me.
It's in that genre, and it's very fun. I'm very surprised how well it runs, just because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the times people screw up with a port like this, but Koei Tecmo did an amazing job. I remember back in the day of the MonadoMax history, I thought with this game being on the Switch, they're gonna put Ryu in Smash, but no, I was an idiot. I think this is digitally $60, I think. I don't know, I paid $60 for the physical copy because, again, it didn't come from America, I had to import it here, so it was pretty expensive for me. But it's very fun. Very fun game, very much worth your time, and a very interesting storyline there. Graphics, it's just a remastered, so don't expect like a remake. It's HD, all that good stuff, and it's got 3 on there, which was a Wii U game. Another Wii U game coming to the Switch. I can't believe it. Very much worth your time. Go pick that one up. Coming in number 5 is my favorite indie game of all time. I have bought this game so many times. So many times. I own it on multiple platforms. I own it on my Switch. I own it on my Wii U. I own it on my PlayStation 4. I own it on my PS Vita. I own it on I own it on the 3DS, I think. I have bought it everywhere I could get it because I wanted to support this development team so much because this game was so good. That game being Shovel Knight. Now, if you are one of the lucky ones now that have never experienced Shovel Knight, when you buy this game, when you buy Treasure Trove, you get access to so much content. I know the game digitally when it's not on sale is $40. This game goes on sale all the time though. I know the Wii U eShop is about to close. It's on sale for like $4. You get access to the original game, 3 story modes, or the DLC story modes, with 3 different characters. You get access to the fighting game, Shovel Knight Showdown. You get access to so many things when it comes to Treasure Trove Edition. It is very much worth your time. You get so much. It is well worth your money because the amount of content that is in this game. With the amount of content that you have in Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, you got endless amount of content, especially if you buy the amiibo. There's just so many good things that you can do with Treasure Trove. This is very much worth your time. Best indie game of all time, in my opinion. And if you're a fan of those retro games, so I've never played DuckTales, but I know this is very much compared to DuckTales, Mega Man, those type of games, those level designs. You're gonna love Shovel Knight because the level designs are very much like that. The gameplay, the music is absolutely amazing. Well worth it. Go out there, support Yacht Club Games, one of the best teams out there. I love Yacht Club Games. Shovel Knight, one of the greatest games of all time. I'm gonna stop talking about Shovel Knight, but why is it Shovel Knight in Smash? Okay, this is not a Smash Bros video. All right. I know he's in Assist Trophy, but he should have been in Smash. Okay, he should have been in Smash. Going in to number 4 now. Number 4 is a really good game that I know my editor also really likes. Big pusher for this game, and I think this game is a really hidden gem towards the Nintendo Switch because it's a very good game, a very good game. Coming in number 4 is Live Alive. Now, Live Alive is what I call one of the perfect games to play if you're somebody like me who doesn't have time for an 100-hour plus game. Because a game like Live Alive, when you hear it and with the type of gameplay or game it is, being a RPG, when you hear RPG, you're like, oh, 50 to 100 hours, I can't play that game. I'm sorry, no, can't do it. Well, let me tell you something. This is a 20-hour game, and it is it can be 15 hours. It depends how you play. This game is composed with 7 different storylines, with 7 different playable characters, very different gameplay styles. There's some similar gameplay styles, but like, for example, there's a Western chapter, and you're like setting up traps. It's really creative, some of the things that you can do in this game. Different storylines. You're instantly hooked with some of these storylines. There's some storylines, but this game makes references to fighting games, the Western, like there's so many cool things with Live Alive. I know it's a $50 game, it's a recent game that just came out. It looks beautiful. It's another chapter in the 2D HD games that people have been making from Square Enix. Square Enix has done a good job, and this is the first time that Live Alive came to America, because this is actually a game that released on the Super Famicom years ago in Japan only. And last year, they made a remake, and the HD 2D remakes, put it on the Switch, brought it to America, and a lot of people didn't buy it. I don't think it's a very successful game for Nintendo and Square, because it's unfortunate, but they released this game a week before Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was coming out, so it was kind of doomed to fail, in my opinion, but it is well worth your time, well worth your money, and if you guys do pick this up, let me know what you think. Very fun game, and I know my editor Coleman, he might say some few words of how he feels about the game, because he is somebody that's very much pushed that game for people to buy.
I love this game. I love this game so much. It's so awesome.
I would have never bought that game if it wasn't for Coleman, so Coleman, big shout outs to Coleman, because he's the reason why Live Alive is in these top 10 videos. Coming in number 4 is a game series that is very special to me. Just wish, for some reason, I guess I can't say series because I've only played the first 3. I don't know why they haven't put the rest of these games on the Switch yet, because of how popular this series is. I don't know why they haven't made a new game yet, because again, these games sell like crazy on all platforms. I don't know why Capcom hasn't done this. But coming in number 4 is the Ace Attorney Trilogy. The Ace Attorney Trilogy is honestly, those games are very special to me because at one point, I wanted to be an attorney because of those games. I didn't pursue it just because I feel like the court system is very screwed up in many ways, but we're not gonna get all deep into that. But Ace Attorney, very fun game, very unique storyline. It's a trilogy, so if that's a Japan copy of the game, there wasn't a physical copy in America. But if you buy it digitally, it goes on sale very frequently because Capcom likes to put their games on sale. It's like 75% off all the time. So I think you could probably get that game for under $10. Get the first 3 games. It's a DS game. It's an attorney game where you're finding evidence, going to court. It's so good. Some very unique storylines in there. I want them to put the rest of the series on the Switch. They did a HD re-release of the ones that didn't come over here to America, the Great Ace Attorney. I think we actually talked about that game on this series before, but I don't know why Capcom hasn't done the rest of the series, because that's what people want. But this is very much worth your time. It's such a good game. Trust me when I say, because I feel like if you watch gameplay, it's not gonna look fun. It's a visual novel. But just trust me, it's really good. The story's gonna get you hooked, and the characters are great. Phoenix Wright, I love that guy. Phoenix Wright, coolest character ever. Anyways, number 4 is Ace Attorney, and you should go buy it. Coming in number 3 is another game that a lot of you guys were confused why I didn't talk about it in the last video, which a lot of you guys didn't realize that was recorded before this game even got released. A lot of you questioned why it wasn't on there. Number 3 is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Now, I am still playing through this game, but I am very surprised at how well this game looks and runs on Nintendo Switch. I would say the one time that the game noticeably looks pretty bad is when you're in cutscenes. But if you're not in a cutscene, I feel like it's hard to notice that you're playing a Switch version of this, because they did a great job. I don't know if it was Square themselves that did the Switch port, but it honestly has me wonder how Final Fantasy VII Remake would run on the Switch, because that would sound like something that would be impossible. But if you see how well this game runs, I feel like it's something that could be pretty possible because of how well it runs on Switch. It's literally just the cutscenes that the game looks really bad. Like, Sephiroth's hair looks really bad in the cutscenes of the Switch version. But overall, the game is super fun. One of my complaints when it comes to Final Fantasy Crisis Core, it has this like little gambling system in the battle system that Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't have, and apparently the game was way worse with the battle system than the original. But I hate this gamble system because I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening. The battle system is kind of confusing for me, but I'm going to get through it. Very interesting storyline. Love the characters, love the voice acting. It's a very good game so far for me, and I'm excited for the next Final Fantasy VII Remake chapter. This game goes for about $50, so while I recommend this game very much, I would hold off just a little bit longer because we're here in March right now. This game came out in December. This game is about to have a price drop and it's going to go on sale very frequently, probably for about $30. I would say wait till like April or May and you're going to see this game go for like $30. For $30, well, for $50 it's already well worth it because it's a pretty decently long game. It's like a 20-hour game. For $50, I think that's pretty good, but $30 is even better. $30 is great for Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. Highly recommend it, especially if you want to play the Final Fantasy series, you played 7, wanted to play the remake, but don't have the remake on the Switch, you don't have the consoles that have the remake, can hold you over for a little bit. A little taste in the remake saga. Alright, coming in number 2, there is some amazing looking third-party Switch port games. I think every time we do these videos, I say, this is the best looking Switch party game, Switch third-party game. Oh, nope. Next episode comes out. This is the best third-party looking game. There are some great looking third-party games that run great, games that look beautiful, and sometimes you get lucky where you get both of them where it's like, it runs great and looks beautiful. This game right here that I'm about to tell you, I think is an honest contender of being the best looking Switch third-party game, and I'm very surprised considering the other release of this game that came out on the Switch. But what game am I talking about? Coming in number 2 is Life is Strange True Colors. Now, in the last episode, we talked about the Life is Strange Remastered Collection being on Nintendo Switch, and I told you that the game graphically didn't look great to me on Switch. It ran great, but the graphics were rough, and I told you the reason why I believe is because they literally were trying to fit the PS5 version of the game, put it on Switch. They didn't optimize the Switch version at all. They didn't update the graphics. This looks like they fully remade the game to be on Nintendo Switch because, wow. I hope my editor is able to show it some gameplay of Life is Strange True Colors and maybe a few seconds of Life is Strange Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. There is a clear difference between both of them. And I believe it was developed by the same team that ported it. So I don't know why they didn't I don't know. It was really weird to me that they didn't put that time into the Life is Strange Remastered Collection. But Life is Strange True Colors, very impressive Switch port. Storyline is great. I will always tell you Life is Strange is such an amazing series. I've played 1 and I've played True Colors. I know 2 just came out on Switch. By the way, Square Enix, can you please make a physical copy of 2? Because you got all these other games that have physical copies and then 2 is just right there, digital only. Please, Square, please, I beg you. Anyways, very much well worth your time. Very impressive considering the platforms that Life is Strange True Colors is on. The one noticeable difference that you're going to see with this version compared to the other versions is when you're in a house or going to a store or something, you can't see the outside. They make it where the glass is just, you can't see anything, which is understandable because, the Switch just can't handle that. When you're loading in the game, the first 5 seconds, every time you're into a loading screen and then you're playing the game looks horrible, but then after that 5 seconds, boom, looks amazing. It is incredible what Life is Strange True Colors is. I am incredibly impressed by that Switch port. I think it looks better than Nier Automata. I thought that was the best looking Switch port. I thought Persona 5 Royal was the best looking Switch port. I thought Doom was really great. But there's a lot of good Switch ports. That, I think, might have the cake of the best looking one. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think on that one. Am I being a little bit too dramatic on that one? Coming in number 1 as a game that I was very close to having this be my game of the year last year, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 took the cake. And number 1 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. This was probably the most shocking release to me of last year of being a good game. Like, I knew it was gonna be a good game. I knew when it was announced it was gonna be great. I didn't think it was gonna be good enough to be a Game of the Year contender for me. I played this game on my birthday last year and beat it on my birthday with my friends Coleman and Jackson. It was great playing that game. Endless amount of fun. The sprites look beautiful. The game's environment looks beautiful. The music is great. If you're a Streets of Rage fan, you're gonna like this because people that developed Streets of Rage 4 develop this. That team is developing so many things. It's actually insane. It's like, I don't know how to compare it. Like, it's so good. It's my favorite beat 'em up game. I'm a big Scott Pilgrim beat 'em up fan. I know my editor has some things about that one. I didn't like Streets of Rage 4 that much. I have a little bit of some issues with it, but I don't think I've given it a fair chance. But overall, very fun game. It's digitally like a $20 game. If you want the physical copy, it's like 30 bucks. I'm a physical guy. I mean, I love this game so much that I got the collector's, or it's like the mini collector's edition of it. I got it on the shelf right here. It's a VHS set of the game because, you know, the Turtles were in the VHS timeline. So when they released this game, they're trying to have the nostalgic feeling of, ooh, VHS. And actually, since I bought it off the Limited Run website, inside there's a Pizza Hut coupon where you get free pizza, so that's kind of cool. I already have the game, so yeah, but it is very, very, very good. That's probably a game that if you can wait a few more months, gonna go on sale very frequently for right around 10 or 12 bucks. It's gonna be 50% off soon. It's still a new release, but once you play it, it's a really good game. It's a really good game. Play it with friends. Play it with friends. Don't play it by yourself. That is going to be a big mistake if you decide to play it by yourself. This is a Nintendo Switch, and the Nintendo Switch has been going on for 6 years now, and the system has so many games, like a lot of games, especially from the first-party perspective, where most first-party games are really good. And Nintendo's history with third-party games has been a little rocky when it comes to some of their consoles, especially with the Wii U. The Wii U had no third-party games, and with the Switch being as popular it is, it does get a lot of third-party games, but some of those third-party games are absolutely horrible due to the type of system the Nintendo Switch is in its hardware, because it is weaker than the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, and we're here at the PlayStation 5 and Series X. So I wanted to do yet another video talking about my favorite third-party games, because there are so many third-party games on the Switch, which is great because the Wii U had none of these games. And to be able to talk to you about what I think is a good Switch port, some of the best out there, I'm very happy to see how successful this series has been, and seeing how all of you guys have wanted me to talk about third-party games for the Switch, because I love talking about third-party games. Because of how difficult it is to get third-party games on Switch, I think it's a great topic, great video, and there is so many games that we still have not talked about in this series. And we're getting a chance to talk about yet another 10 games to talk about in this series, which is crazy. That means we've technically done a review on 60 third-party games, basically. We've reviewed 60 third-party games. That's crazy. But let's go ahead and get into the number 10 on our Nintendo Switch third-party games video. Coming in number 10 is a game that I honestly never thought would have ever came to the Switch, because I thought it was exclusive in all honesty, and that is Bugsnax. I think this was exclusive to, what's that console called? Is Midstation? Oh yeah, that's what Midstation 5. About 2 years later, it started coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is also a complete shock because, you know, with the type of hardware the Switch is, I would have been like, oh wow, that's gonna be a difficult Switch port. But this game comes in, surprisingly looks amazing and runs amazing. I was very, very surprised because I thought for sure there would have been frame rate drops, there would have been some pop-in issues, loading issues. The only actual problem I would say that I've ran into when it comes to Bugsnax, the loading screens are very long on this game. I think it's noticeably way longer than some of the other games out there for Nintendo Switch, and especially if you're a big fan of this game and you're coming from the PS5 over to this game, you're not gonna like that loading screen because the PS5's, you know, the hard drive on that thing is so fast, the SSD drive, that thing is super fast. This is not fast at all. However, Bugsnax is a really good game without it needing all those cool fancy features. It has a very unique gameplay style, I've not played out there. I know there's probably other games out there that are very similar to Bugsnax, but I very much enjoyed what I was playing of Bugsnax, and this is a game that I could highly recommend because it's just such a unique game. If you're out there tired of some of those games out there that's just following the same design over and over and want something new and original, I think Bugsnax is there. It has gameplay mechanics it uses a bunch of gameplay mechanics that you would not imagine would all come together nicely. You have like capturing the right type of bugs to feed to the right type of creatures that you're around. This is very fun, very interesting story. I am also a big fan of the voice acting in this. I think it's very cool that a game like this, the type of studio this studio is, had the funding for. I'm pretty sure this company is considered an indie game studio, so to have voice acting, because not all indie games get the opportunity to have voice acting. So this was a very good Switch port, and that's why it's going to be number 10 on my list. Coming in number 9 is Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, sorry, I had to do it once because I've been watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh recently, and I love seeing that part where Yugi turns into Yami. Okay. Anyways, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist came to the Switch, and by the way, I think it's crazy that the Switch version is the only one to have a physical release because it's been out on PlayStation and Xbox, PC, all of that for years, and then the Switch version came out late, and yeah, I think that's kind of weird, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, one of the reasons why I love this game in particular so much is it has all the animes into one game, and you can relive the story of those animes into this game. So for example, you can relive Duelist Kingdom, play against the characters that Yugi fought against in Duelist Kingdom. Or if you're, for me, example, I'm a big Joey Wheeler fan, you can play as Joey Wheeler's opponents that he fought during Duelist Kingdom. You battle with the same deck that he uses in Duelist Kingdom. You have the option to make your own deck if you want to use during the story mode, but I'm using the character decks to make me feel like I'm actually that character. It's really cool. The only problem is, I wish there was voice acting. Other than that, it's really cool. It's like key perfect seeing the dialogue that they're choosing for this story mode in comparison to the anime. It's like almost exact, and I'm able to realize this because I've been watching the anime a lot recently. So really cool to see this on the Switch. It's a unique game. You can go through all the animes, I believe. I haven't seen newer Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't know what's going on there, but you can find this for less than 20 bucks. It's a very fun game if you're into card games and especially watched Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. This is the game for you because I'm not a fan of today's Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm really not. That has online. I'm not going to touch the online because today's Yu-Gi-Oh is horrible. But to be able to play as the old school characters like Yugi, Joey, relive that in a story mode, so cool. So cool to see. Number 8 is My Friend Pedro. This is a really cool game. Like very, very cool 2D shooter game, I guess is what you would call this. I've never played a game like this. I don't know what genre you would want to call this game, but to me, it's like if John Wick was a 2D game that you had the option to slow motion if you want to go slow motion. You can literally go into a room, dodge bullets, and then activate slow motion mode and then start going crazy on people in the game. Absolutely crazy. Killer soundtrack, interesting dialogue, very fun game, and from Devolver Digital, I'm just now starting to play more of their games. Everyone told me that My Friend Pedro was going to be one that I love because of my love for the John Wick movies, and this is cool and probably the closest thing that we're going to get to a good John Wick game, especially a 2D John Wick game. I mean, I don't know if I really want a 2D John Wick game. I think a 3D John Wick game, oh my god. I don't know why we don't have that yet. I know there's that John Wick Hex game, but I've never played it yet. This is very cool. It is a indie game, support the indie developers, and physically, there's a physical copy. That's my one rule with this series, is we are not going to talk about the game if there is no physical copy. That's just my personal rule of this series. I know that's going to be a weird take, but it's so cool to finally have this game. This is a recent thing that I got a few months ago. Just started playing it, and again, very fun game, unique game. At least for me, it was unique. Coming in number 7 is No More Heroes 2.
Now, No More Heroes 1 is an amazing No More Heroes game. It was actually, I think, in the second part of this video series that we did. No More Heroes 2 came along. I just beat that last year, and I loved the levels of it. There was some things in there that I wish would have had that No More Heroes had, but there was a development cycle where, you know, you could say that No More Heroes 2 did improve on certain things that No More Heroes 1 struggled. I think personally No More Heroes 2's level design is way better than what we saw in 1, but I think it was a unique, different change to be able to play some of the characters that you were playing as with its different styles of gameplay with certain characters. I personally enjoyed it, and from a story perspective, big fan of this game's story. Now, I need to play No More Heroes 3 because that's the one No More Heroes game I haven't played. I just beat Travis Strikes Back a few months ago, so you're probably going to see 3 on this series a few months from now, or a few videos from now, because I don't know how many more of these we're going to be making. I hope we can make it to 10 parts of this series. But No More Heroes 2 is a phenomenal game, and if you haven't played No More Heroes 1, please do it. Especially, like, if you're a fan, this is a weird comparison. I'm always going to make this comparison, though. If you're a fan of those awesome Nickelodeon games that was on PlayStation 2, you're gonna love No More Heroes 1. I know that's a weird comparison, but trust me. Coming in number 6 is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Now, man, what can I say? I am a big fan of the developer, or at least the director of this game, because he helped make A Way Out. A Way Out, I thought, was one of the craziest, most unique games that I have ever played, which actually I played with my editor Coleman here. We beat it together, and that game is going to be an experience that I always will remember. That had some crazy story mechanics in there that I was not expecting. Gameplay mechanics were wild. There were so many crazy things about that game that I had to play more of this guy's work. And he hasn't made many games. He's made 3 games. His first game that he made was this game right here. And this game follows that whole 2-player co-op system that he made with A Way Out, except he doesn't force it in this, where you can actually play by yourself. And it's absolutely crazy and unique. I thought, from a gameplay control mechanic, this might be one of the coolest games ever from a gameplay control perspective, because the controls were so clean, so awesome. Like, it's so crazy how you were able to control 2 characters in the way that this game is with just one control. It was really cool. This game is a extremely short game, very, very short game. You can get it done in 2 hours, but those 2 hours is a very fun game because there's some unique levels with how unique the gameplay is in terms of controlling both of these characters at not once, but on one controller. It just opens the door to so many ways of playing this game, and it's just so cool to see. Like, it wouldn't be like, me as a kid would be thinking of doing this when I was playing Lego games, basically, and I didn't have a second friend to play with, or a second player. I would try doing this, and it was impossible because you're just one person. This, I bet somebody out there has the same experience, or I guess you guys had friends. I didn't. This game is very fun. The story is awesome. It's sad, but awesome. It's such a cool game, and I can't wait to hopefully play It Takes Two. A lot of you asked me my thoughts on that Switch port. Hopefully one day I can talk about it, but unfortunately, I'm in the same boat where I have no friends that want to play it. So hopefully one day I'll get to play It Takes Two. Hey Coleman, you should play it with me.
Unfortunately, Max, nobody likes you, so I don't want to play that game with you, but I think I might know someone who will. Let me go ask my friend Nick.
I'm not touching that. Go ask Luke.
Sorry, buddy. I'm not playing that game. Let's ask Sly and see if he wants to.
Nuh-uh, nope, not playing that. Jackson might want to, though.
No.
Coming in number 5 is one that you guys have been telling me to play, which I've had. I'm a very busy guy. But we're finally putting in the video series, don't worry. And I'm going to get to the other one eventually that you guys are talking about when it comes to Dragon Quest. Coming in number 5, Dragon Quest Builders 2. This is a crazy, crazy, crazy addicting game. I know this because I had to stop playing it. My friend, editor Coleman, we were supposed to play it together. And I'm just a very busy guy.
I barely have enough time to film videos, get them sent to Coleman, and then play video games on my own time. However, with the many hours that I put into this, very fun, very cool. I would honestly say this is going to be a crazy hot take with what I played. I think I was having more fun with this than I was with Minecraft. When it comes to a building perspective, building worlds, I think this is better. I'm sure from a multiplayer experience, Minecraft is always going to be better, but from a single player perspective, I had more fun with Dragon Quest Builders 2 than I did with Minecraft, and for that reason alone, you should own this for your Switch. You can put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game, so that in itself is worth owning in your collection, because you need a Switch game that you can put that many hours in. And if you're looking for a game like that and just haven't found it yet, and didn't want your traditional Minecraft, or wanted a building game but didn't want the traditional Minecraft experience, this is the one to go to. Unfortunately, I think it's always like a $50 to $60 game, so it is going to be a big price point to swallow, but it is well worth it. I would also say only play it if you have time. If you're like me, who has 2 jobs and many other responsibilities, then that game might not be for you. Coming in number 4 is Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. Now, this is another game that, in all honesty, I used to play a lot on the 3DS. They had a 3DS version. I don't think it was called Theatrhythm. It was Final Fantasy. It was like the same gameplay design with Final Fantasy characters. That was actually my first game into the Final Fantasy experience. Used to be really good at those type of games. Then I played this. I was like, ooh, I guess I'm not as good as I thought it was, or maybe, a 3DS screen is different than a Switch controller. But nonetheless, this game's music is really cool. The gameplay is amazing. Seeing these characters in HD looks very beautiful. Obviously, the type of graphics it is, it's not like groundbreaking graphics, but seeing this in HD with the Switch graphics rather than seeing this on the 3DS screen was pretty cool. Because I might be wrong, but I think these were basically 3DS exclusives, this whole series. It might have came to mobile, but I don't think it ever hit a platform where you could HD it. And seeing that with this was pretty cool. It is a new Switch release, so it's going to be hard to find it. I don't know if it's really worth $50 with the amount of content it is. It has every Final Fantasy game out there pretty much, where you can relive some of the most iconic moments in the story and play the music. But I am not, so I haven't played all the Final Fantasy games. I played 7 Remake and played a little bit of the original 7. So for me, $50 isn't worth it, but for a lot of other people, this might be worth $50. I think if you wait a little bit, you can find this for 30 bucks. I think $30 is perfect, and you can play online, which is what I've been doing with our TikTok manager and editor, Coleman. I think the last 4 games that I've talked about, I've brought up Coleman, so hopefully the next game I don't bring up Coleman. Coming in number 3 is one that I am very excited to talk about, because one is my favorite horror game of all time, and secondly, I've not been able to talk about this game into this third-party games list because I don't have the physical copy. The physical copy is like $500, but I finally got it, and that is Outlast. Outlast is one of the greatest horror games of all time. I will never forget the moments that I have with Outlast. I have replayed Outlast 4 or 5 times, and every time that I play it with friends, and I always have the greatest ever reactions of playing Outlast with my friends. Outlast is such a good game from a horror perspective. It's on every platform, but for the Switch, it runs amazing, looks amazing, and with the Halloween season showing up, you need to get a horror game. You need to play a horror game on Halloween. And the best game to play for Halloween is Outlast on your Nintendo Switch. I cannot recommend this game enough, other than the fact that if the horror game is so good that I wanted to play at every birthday party with friends, then it's clearly a good game. So definitely look into Outlast. I have so many amazing memories with this game, and Outlast 2 is great too, but I prefer Outlast 1. If you only want one game, get Outlast 1. And with it being Halloween soon, it's going to go on sale for like $2 digitally, so there's that. Coming in number 2 is probably, right now, one of my favorite Switch games of all time that I'm playing that I'm hoping to beat in a few weeks. I might actually do a full dedicated video on this game because no one's talking about it and people need to play this. That game is Moon. Moon is a game that has been highly recommended to me by my editor Coleman, and I'm so glad that I finally listened to Coleman with this because I'm still playing it, but this is such a unique concept of a game. Now, I'm gonna tell you from my perspective of what I think is happening with the story of this, at least right now from what I'm seeing, just to give you an idea of why I think this is such a unique game. You are seeing two games happen at once. You're seeing the hero of this game. You're seeing, so you're not playing as the hero. You're playing as somebody that's dead, but you're seeing what this hero is doing throughout the whole game, and then you, the ghost, are saving the people that the quote-unquote hero is killing. And it makes unique gameplay design and unique dialogue options with this game. It's just such a cool game, and hopefully with that little intro that I gave you, it's enough of a little bit to tell you how cool this game is, enough to get you to want to play the game. I feel like, to me, it's like you're playing as an NPC while living the moments that the quote-unquote main character is doing, when that character isn't the main character. This NPC, at least I feel like I'm an NPC, is the main character. It's crazy, it's unique. I think, I might be wrong about this, Coleman can correct me. I think he was telling me this was on the PlayStation 1, and they brought it to America for the first time. He might correct me, I might have it all wrong, but there's so many cool things that you can do with this game. One of the things is have your own soundtrack, basically. You choose what gets played. You buy, like with their game's currency, don't worry, it's no microtransactions. There's many things here with this game, and we're probably doing a dedicated video on this, so be on the lookout. So coming in number one, if I was to make a definitive top 10 list before the Switch ended, which I might do, I don't know. So we've talked about so many Switch games in the 60 games that we've talked about so far. I think people would probably want to know what's the best running, best looking Switch game, like just best port. The one that we're about to talk about is probably one of the best Switch ports I've ever played, because it's also another impressive achievement that's been done on the Switch. This game might have actually been a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I know the company that made this game developed a PlayStation exclusive. But that game is The Pathless. When this got announced for the Switch, I was like, there is no way this is going to look good and run good. I own Pathless on my PlayStation 5, and when I played it, I was like, wow, this is a true next-gen experience with some of the things that you can do in The Pathless. So I was like, when this got announced for the Switch, I was like, there's no way they can do this. This is not going to work for the Switch. I don't know how you can get this on the Switch. But they proved me wrong. This is one of the best-looking Switch games and best-running Switch games. I had, no frame rate problems at all with this game. The game graphically looked really good still, and which was very shocking because if you guys know about the Switch, when a game has a good frame rate, it typically sacrifices the graphics to have that good frame rate. This didn't do that. It did everything well, with the only issue I would say, pop-in issue. That is the only issue. Not to mention the game's story and gameplay mechanics are so fun, so unique, that it is worth the money and time. Also, if you're a fan of The Journey, which was a PlayStation exclusive, the team that made that made this. This is like their third game that they made, so if you played that game, you're going to see the similarities of this game. Or Abzu, that's another popular game they made that they also did here. So The Pathless is a very fun game and is number one on this list, and probably a top 10 definitive third-party game. In terms of what I reviewed, that would definitely be in the top 10 best out of the 60. Which all of what I've reviewed has been great on the Switch. Hey, what's going on everyone? MonadoMax here, and today we are back with a video series that I really love doing. To me, it's really special to me because I feel like I kind of helped start this whole conversation of what is a good third-party Switch game. And today we're doing part 7 of the top 10 best third-party games out there for this bad boy, the Nintendo Switch. And as you can see, I have a lot of Switch games, so we have plenty to discuss. And this has been an interesting year for the Nintendo Switch since the last time we did one of this, because we've had a lot of third-party games come out for the Switch. A lot of bad and a lot of good. And I've come up with another top 10 list, and I have actually another top 10 list that we could do down the road. But right now, I feel like I got a pretty good list, and I feel like it's strongly a definitive list out there, because some of the games in here, I think I would rate up there as truly some of the best Switch ports out there. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this awesome top 10 video. Coming in number 10, I just want to say, don't call me out on this. Hear me out before you guys call me a hypocrite, because there's something, just listen to the whole thing that I'm about to say, please, because I still stand true to my opinion on this game. Coming in number 10 is the Batman Arkham Trilogy. This game is absolutely garbage if you're buying it for Batman Arkham Knight. In fact, if you're gonna buy this at all, do not buy this for $60. This is not a $60 game at all. This is at most a $20 game. And the only reason why it's on this list is I saw that it's been continuously getting on sale for $30. In my review video, I said it was absolutely horrible because of Batman Arkham Knight, and Batman Arkham Knight was probably the main reason why this game was so high. However, Batman Arkham City and Batman Arkham Asylum are great, especially Arkham City. That game runs perfect on the Switch. For some reason, Arkham Asylum has some hiccups, and from my understanding, the developers over at Warner Brothers have said that they are going to fix Arkham Knight. They have not fixed Arkham Knight yet, but there is an update coming, and it's taken a long time, so maybe there's going to be an actual good fix to Batman Arkham Knight. It's just very disappointing to see that Batman Arkham Knight runs absolutely horrible on Switch, all things considering that these are supposed to be native Switch versions of the game built from the ground up for Nintendo Switch. Really, only buy this if you can get it for $20 to $30, because playing Batman Arkham City is well worth it for $20, $30. That is such a good game. And for whatever reason, that is considered one of the best video games of all time. I don't rate Arkham City as one of the best video games of all time, but it is one of the highest rating games out there and considered one of the best video games of all time. So Arkham City is really good, and I think you should play it, especially if you are a fan of what type of gameplay Batman is, or a storyline, if you're a superhero fan. This is well worth it. Just prepare for disappointment when it comes to Batman Arkham Knight. The two other games in here, the first two games, amazing for Switch. Coming in number 9 is Dragon Quest: The Monsters Dark Prince. Now, this is a Dragon Quest spin-off game. I haven't played the mainline Dragon Quest games. In fact, I've actually only played the spin-off of Dragon Quest games. I played Dragon Quest Builders, and now I'm playing Dragon Quest Monsters. I actually believe this is a Switch exclusive from my understanding. Don't quote me on that. But this just came out, I think, literally 2 months ago. And I was surprised from what I was playing, because there's a lot you can do within this game. And I guess with it being a Switch exclusive, it would make sense with how great it runs, because the game runs really good. The game is really fun. I mean, I hate to make this comparison, but I'm pretty sure this is what they're trying to be with when it comes to Dragon Quest Monsters. But it felt like Dragon Quest met Pokemon literally, and did a crossover game with its gameplay elements of Dragon Quest and Pokemon come together with this type of game. You get an interesting story with this character that I don't know if it's in other Dragon Quest games. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a standalone spin-off series to get interested in this character rather than the mainline games. And as someone that's not played the mainline games, I was having a lot of fun with it, because I didn't feel like I had to play the other stuff and understand this and that to understand these Easter eggs. I felt like this was truly made for people like me who haven't played the series. Now, I'm sure there's still Easter eggs out there that you'll be like, I understood that reference when you play this game if you've played other Dragon Quest games. But I had a blast with this game, and I'm looking forward to continue playing this game. I highly, highly, highly recommend you look to get this for the Nintendo Switch. However, one thing I will say, because this is something that we point out a lot on the channel, is we try to save you money. This game is a $60 game. This is probably not going to go on sale for a long time because it's selling well, and apparently this is hard to find, the physical copy. I don't know. That's what Square Enix said, to buy it digitally if you could. Fun game. Definitely recommend. If you're waiting for a price drop, it's not going to happen for a bit. Coming in number 8 is Super Bomberman R2. Now, if you guys know me, I highly, highly, highly recommend Super Bomberman R. That has been a game that I picked up in the early days of the Nintendo Switch. It is something that I have recommended to so many people because it is such a great game. What the game that I felt lacked when it came to the first Bomberman game was single player stuff. The story mode was not very interesting. And with Bomberman R2, They have tried their absolute best to upgrade the story, make the levels more interesting, give like kind of like an open world type to the game when it comes to the exploring the levels of Bomberman. I don't know how to explain, because it's not open world, but it kind of is. It's like multiple levels into one and you're exploring the area. It was a really cool concept for this, and you could see that they were really trying to add more single player stuff. And there's a lot of new game modes within Bomberman R2 that I think is really interesting, and I hoped would have been successful for them, but unfortunately this has probably not been a success for Konami, because this game has dropped in price very, very fast. I picked this up for 20 bucks. This game came out in like September as a $60 game, and now it's nothing. Now, if you're looking for it as like an online game, they do online updates, they do like seasons, it's casual updates that they do, but I don't really think there's a community out there for this. So this is really probably a game you should only buy if you're gonna have friends over, because this is the ultimate game to have friends over. The single player stuff is well worth it. I just don't think many people would like this type of style all the time. This is one of those games that aren't for everybody as a single player experience, but I definitely think as a multiplayer experience, you're gonna have an absolute blast. Coming in number 7 is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Now, again, this is a sequel of a game that I have highly, highly praised on this channel, which was the first Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. That game had a rough start, but they fixed a lot of the problems that people had with the game. No voice acting, fine. 1 year later, they added as a free update. Items, added as a free update. DLC characters, added as a free update. They did have some paid DLC characters. However, they continued to add content into that game that made it a really good game. And with the sequel to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, they just continue to add on to what people requested. A single-player campaign mode, got it in here, with voice acting, an actual story, which, by the way, the campaign to this is really fun because it's a roguelike game. I don't think I have seen a roguelike fighting game like that before with its story mode. And it's very fun and can get extremely difficult. I am having a lot of fun with Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 on the Nintendo Switch. However, the big problem with the Switch version that I've had is this game has a lot of loading screens. And I expect it probably has to do with what the type of the game it is and how much content it has, how you're going through so many levels at once. There's a lot of loading screens and they take a long time at times. I have sat through a few loading screens that took over a minute, and they happen all the time because you can get through these levels pretty fast. There's a lot of stuff that you're going through that causes loading screens, and that's really my only major complaint with the Switch version. But it runs really good. It has a little bit of a graphics hit, but it still, in my opinion, looks really good. The only time that I saw frame rate drops with this game is if you had those levels that had multiple enemies at once, like I think it would have been like 4 or 5 enemies at once on the screen when you were up close. The game was dropping frames like crazy. But regular one-on-ones, all that type of stuff, runs perfect. I think this is a very good game. It's just the loading screens. If you have a next-gen console, this might be one of those that if you have a problem with loading screens, you might want to play it on there. But if you have no problem with loading screens, buy this. Coming in number 6 is Neon White. Now, I have to say, the story of Neon White is extremely weird and definitely not for me. I think a lot of people would be interested in the type of story that Neon White is. It's more tailored towards the anime fans out there, so if you're a big anime person, you'll probably love the story of Neon White. But the actual game was super fun to me. I love this type of game style that Neon White is. It reminds me a lot of Ghost Runner. Now, I know Ghost Runner did not invent whatever you call this type of style of gameplay, but I love these speed running type levels, go through the level, get points for getting to it faster to progress to the next set of missions. This was fun, and it opened the door to a lot of creative levels that I played within Neon White. I enjoyed Neon White just based off gameplay alone, and the best part about this is a relatively cheap game. If you don't buy it physically, you could probably get it on the eShop for like less than 10 bucks because it goes on sale a lot. But if you're a physical guy, the physical copy I think is only $30. So for how fun this game was, for how low you have to pay for it, I think it's well worth it. And I think most people would enjoy the story. It's just a little out there for me, but Neon White is great. And it has Steve Blum in it. If you guys don't know who Steve Blum is, you probably will find out once you look at his IMDb page. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I do know who Steve Blum is. Coming in number 5 is Persona 5 Tactica. Now, this is a game that I know a lot of people, when it got announced, they were like, another Persona 5 game. I would like them to continue the Persona 5 stuff that they got going on. I would like to see a fighting game too. That seems to be probably happening next. But Persona 5 Tactica came out. This was a new type of thing that Atlas did with the Persona series. And I actually don't know if Atlas themselves developed. I think Atlas actually developed this. This isn't something that they hired a different company to do with, like Persona 5 Strikers, which was Koei Tecmo. And this is a part of the mainline universe of Persona 5. The story is canon to the universe, and I enjoyed this a lot. It was different. The best way to describe it is XCOM meets Persona. I guess in other words, you could use Mario Rabbids meets Persona if you guys played Mario Rabbids, because there's probably a higher chance you played Mario Rabbids than you did XCOM. Very interesting art style. That might be something that might not have you be interested in the game as much, because I know a lot of people that I hang out with that are Persona fans, they were excited to play this, or the rumors of this game, and then it being this type of art style, they were like, ugh. Persona 5 Tactica, though, I've had a lot of fun with, and particularly what surprised me the most was how great the Switch version was. I had no frame rate drops. The game looked really good. I was at a locked frame rate every time I was playing the game, which really surprised me. And the best part about this game that I love when I'm able to show this off on the channel is you can get this game for cheap also. This just came out and it didn't sell well, unfortunately, and you can buy it at places like Best Buy. It goes on sale for 20 bucks. So to have that in your collection, a Persona 5 game, which this is a way shorter Persona game out there. It's a spin-off, so I mean, even for a spin-off, this is really short. So if you're not a fan of shorter games, this is like a 20 to 25 hour game, so keep that in mind. Fun game, and it's great that they actually got the whole voice cast back for this too. I was surprised by that they even did the voice acting into this game. Coming in number 4 is No More Heroes 3. Now, No More Heroes 3 has such a crazy opening to a game. I was instantly hooked. I have never been on the controller being like, oh my gosh, this is awesome when it came to the No More Heroes games. I always thought these games were great, but the opening of No More Heroes 3, oh my gosh, that tops anything out of the openings of No More Heroes, out of the games that we've had. No More Heroes 3 has been an amazing game so far of what I've played. Now, the obvious thing that the game struggles with is when you get to, I guess, what you would call is the open world side of things. It looks really bad with the open world. And I think what came down to it being so bad is I don't really think Suda51 actually wanted those elements into the game, but everyone was begging for it since the first No More Heroes had it. So he was like, alright, here you go, we're gonna force it in because you guys won't stop. It looks horrible when you get to the open world side. It runs not great either, and compared to the first game, it's just, it feels incredibly forced. However, when you get to the actual levels of No More Heroes 3, they're great. Those aren't forced. Those are polished. I'm a fan of the graphics too when you're playing those normal levels. I think this game looks really good. It's just the game fails when you get to the open world side, doing the side stuff that's required to get through the main stuff. Wish they kind of would have got rid of that, kind of like how No More Heroes 2 did it. Other than that though, this is a great game to have. I could only recommend this though if you've played the other No More Heroes games. If you haven't played No More Heroes yet, you should. My best description I could give of that, which might be a very controversial thing to say, I feel like No More Heroes is, if you've played the old Nickelodeon games back as a kid, it to me reminds me if the team that made those games made this with like a mature version of those games. That makes sense. That might be an out there comparison, but that's what it reminds me of, and that's why I've loved the series so much, and I'm glad that my editor pushed me to play the games. Coming in number 3 is SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. You're probably gonna be like, why is that so highly on your list? Now listen, when this got announced, I was worried. Now, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom is great. Rehydrated was amazing. When they announced that they were going to continue the series, I was like, this isn't going to work out. They've made SpongeBob games since the old days, and they went downhill. This is going to be like that, because there was SpongeBob games that attempted to do this, and it just was so bad. There was no way that this team was going to be able to make a good SpongeBob game. They just should have stuck with remasters, is what I was hoping. But they did this really amazingly. The Switch version is even better than what it was on the Battle for Bikini Bottom Switch version out there. They took everything that people got mad about when it came to the Switch version of those games and fixed all the problems and made it look really good with like no frame rate drops ever. And best of all, this game is really fun. The levels throughout the whole SpongeBob Cosmic Shake is so cool. It is like a SpongeBob multiverse game. In concept, sounds like it was not going to work out, but they made this work out and it works amazing. I also love that they were able to get all of the voice cast back with new lines. I wasn't sure how they were going to do that since this was like a whole new game. All the actors in this have become way more popular since Battle for Bikini Bottom when they did those lines like 20 years ago. They got everyone back here, and this was truly a special game. I think if you loved Battle for Bikini Bottom, you're really gonna love this game. And I was so surprised to see how well the Switch version held up to the other versions out there, considering some of the elements that this game had, and how Battle for Bikini Bottom ran for the Switch. I mean, in terms of graphically, because it ran amazing on Switch. Graphically, it kind of took a hit because it focused on running so well. But this looked really good, and I'm so surprised. This doesn't go on sale very often, but it's like a $30 game. You should buy this if you liked Battle for Bikini Bottom. I know that's not going to be for everyone. It's probably going to be really weird to y'all that I have this as number 3, but I thought this was a really good Switch game out there. Coming in number 2 is probably the best Switch port of all time. There's so many times that I've said that with some games. It's hard to say, but this was truly a game that surprised me, that I did a whole video review on it. Hogwarts Legacy for the Nintendo Switch. When this got announced, everybody laughed. I laughed. When the game kept getting delayed, we were all like, yep, it's getting canceled. The developers kept hyping up Hogwarts Legacy for the Switch, saying it's gonna surprise people, and no one believed it. When Mortal Kombat 1 came out for the Nintendo Switch, everyone lost hope so fast when it came to Hogwarts Legacy because that was coming out 2 months after Mortal Kombat 1. So everyone thought Hogwarts Legacy was just not going to work, and they made this work, and it graphically looks good most of the time and runs at a locked frame rate. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing when it came to this game. I couldn't believe how good the opening of Hogwarts Legacy was on Switch. I was just blown away and continue to get blown away as I played this game. This is a really good Switch game, and I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I have done a full dedicated review talking about in depth of how good this game is. So I highly recommend you check that video. This is also a new Switch release. It's $60 right now. I've seen it sometimes go on sale for $40 to $60. This is worth it. I am so impressed about this. You can properly play Hogwarts Legacy on a Nintendo Switch, which is crazy. Coming in number 1 is one that's going to surprise a lot of people, including me. But when I played this, I was surprised how much I was enjoying it. Coming in number 1 is Sonic Superstars. Sonic Superstars is a game, when it was announced, a lot of people was excited for it, and then the announcements after the game kind of disappointed people because they all thought it was like, oh, we could do online multiplayer. And then Sega was like, no. There was just more stuff that kept coming out about the game that had people concerned about the game. And for whatever reason, Sega was like, we're gonna go up against Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2. They released this game 3 days before that game. They got outsold by Mario. Interesting week that all 3 of those games came out in the same week. But Sonic Superstars sold absolutely poorly. In fact, it is a $20 game right now. And they launched at $60, which a lot of people was not happy about this being $60 because a lot of the Sonic releases have been $30 to $40 at launch, with the exception being Sonic Frontiers that launched at $60. But Sonic Superstars, when I popped this game in, I didn't think I was going to have that much fun with it because I was like, Sonic. The reviews of this have been kind of mixed, but I'm having a blast with Sonic Superstars. I've been playing this on my Switch OLED, and the game looks absolutely beautiful with that OLED screen and how colorful Sonic Superstars is. Running at the frame rate that it's at, it runs amazing, no frame rate drops, looks amazing, and the game is just fun. I think if you're a Sonic fan, you'll enjoy this, and especially for $20, can't go wrong with it. There's a lot of content within Sonic Superstars, and I think this was a really, really fun game that unfortunately a lot of people aren't going to be able to play because of the fact that it released the time that it did. One thing I really want to try is the multiplayer. It's just unfortunate that there's no online multiplayer. That would be my one major complaint with this game, since the multiplayer is something that they heavily promoted within this game. I feel like online should have been on there, which is like a Nintendo thing. Nintendo will highlight multiplayer and be like, no, no, no. No online play. It reminds me of like the WarioWare series, really. I highly recommend this game for $20. This is a Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch has a lot of games, as you can see, because I own so many games. From first party into third party, which if you've been along the road of the Nintendo systems, third party can sometimes be a little bit of a tricky topic for Nintendo systems. Obviously, the Wii U was a system that a lot of people felt that failed because of its lack of third-party support. But with the Switch, it's no different. The Switch has probably something different than all of the other Nintendo consoles, which is strong third-party support. But with that being said, there's also bad third-party support for the Nintendo Switch. There is some horrible Switch ports out there for third-party games. And in this series, we're going to be doing part 8 of the top 10 best third-party video games that you should be owning for your Nintendo Switch. So sit back and enjoy another 10 games to add to the ever-growing list of games that we've reviewed on this channel. After we're done with this will make 80 third-party games that we have reviewed onto this series, which is crazy to say, and I'm going to make my dream a reality where we end up having 100 third-party games reviewed onto the Nintendo Switch. So, 2 more parts coming this year. Without further ado, let's get into this awesome list of games. Starting off, number 10 is going to be a turn-based RPG game called Redemption Reapers. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you when it comes to Redemption Reapers. If you like story-driven games, if you're an RPG fan and mainly focus on the story, this game is not going to be for you. The story of Redemption Reapers, I'm just going to be honest, it's garbage. It feels like, honestly, I'm supposed to be hyping this game up, and I'm about to tell you why you should get the game momentarily, but from a story perspective, it seems like they just took characters that got rejected to be in the Lord of the Rings series and made a storyline based off these rejected Lords of the Rings characters. That's how I feel about the story. However, the battle system of this game is incredibly fun. The levels are incredibly fun, and I feel like the main gameplay of the game is some of the most important things with this game that makes it so great. So if you can get over the fact that it has terrible stories, it has a really good level system that I think you guys would really enjoy if you're a fan of these type of games out there. And the voice acting is pretty good. There's a lot of voices that sound similar to some of the people that I know of in today's video games. I don't know if that's true or not, but either way, the cast that they have here does a pretty good job. It's just, like I said, if you focus on the story of RPG games, this is not going to be fun for you. And I mean, look at this awesome cover. I mean, does that not look incredible right there? That's the only reason why I bought this game. I had a feeling it was going to be garbage, and then I put it in, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Coming in, number 9 is an action-adventure game, which is called Liberated. Now, Liberated is a very unique game for me because it's something I have never played before in terms of what its unique style is. Now, I don't know if this style exists because when I was on the phone with Coleman showing him this game, it seemed like this kind of style existed, but Liberated did it a little bit different. Liberated is basically a comic book game. So you are reading a comic book, and in the panels, there'll be cutscenes, and then all of a sudden the next panel would jump into the actual level of the game. And it will keep doing that throughout the whole issue. I think that is a very fun concept, and Liberated does a very good job with its art style. I'm a fan of this black and white art style that it has onto the Nintendo Switch. I feel like it really captures the idea of a comic book, And it reminds me, at least how the art looks, kind of reminds me of the beginning issues of The Walking Dead. So when I was reading the actual story and seeing its art, I was like, wow, it kind of feels like I'm playing a Walking Dead comic book game set within the 6 issues. And this game can be multiple different things, because at some points it becomes a stealth game, and at some points it becomes a choice system game, where you're making choices to concede with the story, and there's totally different options you can do. One of them, I'm not going to say what, but I think I made a big mistake in one of the choices I made, because I messed up big time. And it also has quick time events. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I am a fan of quick time events. I feel like it's something we barely see in video games nowadays, and to see that still being a thing, I think is pretty cool, and it goes really well with Liberated because of its comic book style. Not to mention, its story is very unique. You're getting multiple different stories from different people's perspectives of what's going around in this world. I'm a fan of it because in the opening part of the game, you're kind of like in the resistance of this world that's being taken over by like the government. It's a very unique story, and I think for the price that you're getting this game, I think a lot of you are going to have a very fun time with this. And if you're a comic book reader, I feel 100% for sure knowing that you will like this game. Without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to really enjoy this. Coming in number 8 is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade, is it Wrath of Mutants? Yeah, Wrath of Mutants. Now, this one's actually unique. This is actually a port from the Dave & Buster's game that came out, I believe it was either in 2016 or 2017. Don't remember exactly. This is a recent release that had just came out, kind of out of nowhere. It got announced, I think, literally a few weeks ago at the time of this recording, and now it's out. The game, for me, I had an absolute blast, and one of the reasons why I was really excited for when this got announced to be coming to modern-day consoles is I am not a fan of the Dave & Buster's version of this game. I feel like a lot of the times when you got these beat 'em up, like in today's beat 'em up arcade games that comes to places like Dave & Buster's, they really rig it where you have to pay multiple times to play the game to finish the game. I had a group of my friends, actually at one of my birthday parties years ago, we went there and we had a decent amount of money to play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, and we were dying pretty fast. It felt like the game was purposely doing it where we needed to use that Dave & Buster's card to put more tokens into being able to play the game, which sucked because I didn't like using that much money on one particular game. You know, you have so many games out there, Dave & Buster's, you want to experience other stuff, and it just felt such a cash grab that they were doing that. And the bad part was, we were really enjoying it, we just didn't want to put more money into it because some of the times we were just dying way too quick. With this, you don't have to worry about any of that because this is $30 and that is it. You don't have to worry about the microtransactions or anything like that using that Dave & Buster's card, because when I played this by myself, very simple to play. Didn't have all those issues that I was having, and it surprisingly runs very well. Typically when you're doing stuff from an arcade, sometimes people just don't care about optimizing it for the console and it looking good. It looks exactly the same that it looked on arcade, and I was kind of expecting it not to really run well when I played this game, but from what I played, I'd actually already beaten the game. I didn't have a single frame rate issue. Granted, I played by myself and not with 4 friends, which was probably going to be the one issue I have with this game, is there's no online with this game. I guess probably what ended up happening is Nickelodeon thought, hey, this is probably not going to be a big release, so why waste the money to have servers when it's just not going to do well for us? Because a lot of people were just not really that excited for release. I was, however, very excited for this release and had a great time using the $30. Now, if you want an online experience like a arcade beat 'em up, in a few minutes you'll see something that you'll really enjoy. But if you're by yourself and have friends, or I think even by yourself you'll have a good time, you will definitely have a fun time having this at a party. I think this for $30 is well worth it, even by yourself, and this game is definitely going to go on sale. $30 is just the regular price for it. I thought the $30 was well worth it, especially with how well it ran for the Switch, all things considering. Coming in number 7 is The Blob. Now, The Blob is actually a game I hear a lot of people talk about. And interestingly enough, The Blob, the first one, was actually a Nintendo Wii exclusive back in the day. When The Blob 2 came out, it came out on all consoles. And this new remastered version, it started coming out on other consoles too. But for me, I never played The Blob. It always looked like a very interesting game, and as I played this game, I can't help but feel like Splatoon was heavily influenced by The Blob. Because this game is kind of like Splatoon, but without the guns and having to cover, well, I mean, actually you do cover a lot of the world. Basically, the storyline is there's a resistance out there. You're the resistance trying to save the world, and these villains have taken over the world, and you gotta cover the world back together and make it back to what it was, because these robots are ruining the world. This game has a lot of fun levels out there, a lot of fun challenges. I had a blast with The Blob, and it is a very cheap game. Now, the one thing that you're going to run into, at least with the Switch version of this game, cutscenes look absolutely horrible. They did not upgrade the cutscenes. They made them widescreen and that is it. And then there was times that the frame rate was dropping just a little bit. It wasn't too noticeable, but it was weird to have these type of frame rate issues for a Nintendo Wii game. And this came out pretty early into the Switch cycle. However, for The Blob, I think it's normally like a $20 game. I think you're going to have a fun time with this game, especially if you're a Splatoon fan and love the idea of covering things with ink. I think you're really going to like this game because it has that concept just with no guns. Alright, I told you guys I would give you an online experience game that you can still play single player, but you can have an absolute fun time with the online version of this arcade beat 'em up. Coming in number 6 is Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers is a game a lot of people have been talking about for over 10 years. And for me, I have never played it. I just recently played it with my friends Coleman, Luke, and Sly, and it was fun. Granted, Coleman made the game very annoying at times that a lot of us don't want to actually play the game anymore just due to the fact of what Coleman was doing in the game, because he was doing just annoying things to be funny. And I guess when you're around people that don't think you're funny, you're trying to be funny after all these years of people not laughing at you. And Coleman was just trying to get that experience of people actually laughing at him.
You know what, Max? You're right. I'm not funny. I'm just not funny.
Do it.
No.
Awaken your inner self. Do it. Do it. What?
And nobody laughed, but that's okay. We still all had a fun time playing Castle Crashers because these levels, these musics that are in this, the music's incredible, Castle Crashers. And if you're a fan of this studio, they actually have a lot of their references of the other games that this studio has made within this game. You can actually play as a lot of the characters. This is my first time playing this game, and I really wanted to play Alien Homenders, whatever that alien game that they made. I always thought that game looked really cool, and to see that those characters are actually in this game I thought was really cool. If you're looking for a arcade classic beat 'em up game in today's time with online play, this is one to pick up because it is very cheap. If you're playing it on Switch, it goes on sale for like $5 all the time. This is going to be a great experience if you want an online game to play with your friends, or like I said, if you're at a party and like these type of games, this is one to definitely grab for the party. Coming in number 5 is a side-scrolling run-and-gun game. That game being Broforce. Now, Broforce is a game that's been out for a very long time. Recently, the physical copy just came out, and I've always looked at this game, but I've never taken the time to actually play the game, or even interested really in buying it. It was one of those things I wanted, but I didn't want to just commit to it yet. Recently, I decided to commit to it. I'm glad I did, because this game, I did not realize, has so many parodies of today's classics, really, in movies. All of a sudden, you'll have like a Terminator, you'll have Blade from Marvel, you'll have Ash Williams from the Evil Dead series. Basically, Broforce makes all these popular characters and just name it with like Bro Williams or something like that. The game is super fun. And the further that you get into the game, the more difficult it gets. Because when I first played, I was like, wow, this is really easy. A few levels down, I was like, wow, this is really annoying. This is really difficult. How am I going to beat this? This is a very fun game that you'll see go on sale a lot, and if you get the physical copy, you get the DLC out there. So this is going to be a great game to have, and if you're a fan of those Contra type games, this is going to be one that you're really going to enjoy because of its references, and especially if you're a fan of just movies. I think you'll really like this just because of the fact that you can play as so many different characters that they're heavily referencing. Like, you can literally see that it's Blade. You can literally see they got Will Smith, but the Men in Black version of him in it. It is so cool and so ridiculous, some of the stuff that you can do in Broforce. Very glad to finally pick this up. Coming in number 4 is a game that a lot of you guys have actually been telling me, hey, why is this not into the series? And now I'm here to tell you it is finally into the series. Coming in number 4 is New Super Lucky's Tale. Now, I think this is such an interesting game because I actually remember as a kid when this game got revealed over at the Xbox E3 presentation. I just remember seeing the screen go black, and all of a sudden you see this orange little creature just walk around, like run very fast, and the whole chat and the audience was going crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, Conker's coming back, guys. And then this game immediately had its footage roll in, and everybody in the chat felt so defeated. So when this game came out, you know, I think a lot of people saw it as, it's not Conker, I'm so disappointed. So I think some people missed out on the game just due to its depressing storyline of people thinking it was Conker when it got revealed. They knew what they were doing. I truly believe that this company intentionally made it look that you were getting a Conker game. However, this game does feel heavily inspired by a lot of the Rareware games out there. You'll have a lot of references to Donkey Kong Country into this game, it feels like, and then it's collectathon stuff that you can do in the game. Reminds me a lot of games like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario 64. This is a very fun game that surprisingly looks and runs very good on the Nintendo Switch. I have not once ran into a frame rate drop yet within this game, which very much surprises me considering how big this game really is and how much you can do into this game. The loading screens can sometimes get repetitive, and I feel like a system like the Xbox Series X or PC would probably be very beneficial to play this game if you're not a fan of the loading screens. But either way, for the on-the-go experience, this game is going to be great for you, and I think it's a very cheap game you can still get out there and goes on sale a lot of the times. If you're a fan of the Rareware games or collectathon games, the SpongeBob old school games, because those are collectathon games, this is one to look out for and definitely one you should have in your collection that you'll have a lot of fun with. Like I said, it's got Donkey Kong Country references because at times it becomes a 2D game, when a majority of the game is definitely 3D. But these 2D levels definitely feel inspired by Donkey Kong Country. Coming in number 3 is one that I had thought was already into the series, to be honest with you. I just recently found out I did not put this into the series, so I was like, wow, we need to put this in the series right away. Coming in number 3 is Cuphead. Cuphead is one of those games that is, you know, there's memes around it. It's the Dark Souls of its genre. Cuphead is very difficult. Does it deserve the title of it being called a Dark Souls of its genre? I don't know. I mean, me and Alan, if you guys remember Alan, Alan's the GOAT, shout outs to him. Me and him actually played this in the last house, and we were very excited for Cuphead when it got announced for the Nintendo Switch. I bought the game. We were like, oh man, this is going to be so good. We're going to complete Cuphead. It's going to be awesome. Us in our room, we started playing the game, and let's just say both me and Alan started yelling at each other because of how difficult the game was. And at one point, Alan actually walked out of the room. So I was by myself playing Cuphead when we had the 2-player mode. I'm like, Alan, what are you doing? We're going to die. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? It was an interesting night. You know, we haven't had a game night since, but Cuphead could still be a great game if you're a single-player guy. You might just want to be careful playing it multiplayer with close friends because you might just hate each other after that. Just how me and Alan do. I'm joking. We don't hate each other. Cuphead is a very fun game too. It recently just got its DLC. You have a lot of content within its game, especially with how difficult it is. You're going to be playing this game for hours and hours. It's definitely one to pick up, and especially if you're a fan of that cartoon style that Cuphead delivers, which I think is such a cool style out there, you'll have a fun time with Cuphead. Definitely pick this one up. Coming in number 2 is, I think, the first time we've ever put a game like this into the top 10 series. We're actually putting a full-on puzzle game that plays with physics, and it's actually really fun. It's going to sound boring when I talk about it, and probably the gameplay that you're going to see is going to look boring, but trust and believe, this is a very good game. Coming in number 2 is Manifold Garden. This game looks absolutely beautiful. When I played this game, I just had to continue looking around its world rather than playing the puzzle. I was just amazed by how good this game looked and how colorful it can get. The world of Manifold Garden is something beautiful and something truly peaceful to play. I am horrible at these type of games, but I'm getting through Manifold Garden. I'm going to finish this game, and I think a lot of you guys would probably really enjoy this game because the puzzles out there get very unique, especially when it plays with the physics of things. I think it's very cool, and it's not something I've really seen with Manifold Garden games that are like Manifold Garden. I've never seen the way that it's done puzzles just how Manifold Garden has, let alone a game that looks just as beautiful that Manifold Garden does with it being a puzzle game. And some of these puzzle games out there, people don't care about making it look good, which is understandable why. This has everything perfect. I'm telling you, you should really look into this game. It's a different type of game for me, but I'm telling you, give it a chance. And I think once you play through those minutes of the game, because when I show gameplay, when I tell people about it, they're like, basically that's the type of reaction you'll get when you see people playing Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Trust and believe, you won't fall asleep playing Manifold Garden. You will, however, fall asleep playing Nocturne. Don't play Nocturne, play this instead. Coming in number 1 is honestly very surprising that this is at number 1 considering the company that's making this game, because back in the day, you probably wouldn't have expected to have this company be so highly ranked, at least with one of its games, because they're still not the greatest company out there. But this game was really amazing. Coming in at number 1 is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Wow, what can I say except the Switch version of this game is incredible. Ubisoft did something that I think was very unique that I don't think any developer has done with its third-party, at least these third-party developers, I'm pretty sure have never done this before. What they did with Prince of Persia is they actually made the Switch version be the main version that they were working on first. This was like the basic build of the game. The developers were developing for the Switch, and then afterwards they developed for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, so forth. And because of how Ubisoft developed this game, it's actually 60 frames per second on the Switch, and if you play it on other consoles, it can go up to 120 frames per second. I feel like that what Ubisoft did with that whole development trick right there could really lead to a lot of third-party games coming to the Switch if they developed for the Switch first and then focused on these other platforms, at least the 60 frames per second model of it, or even a lock 30 frames per second, because that I feel like can work for the Nintendo Switch for a lot of these third-party games that aren't out on the Switch, and if they are on the Switch and are running horribly, they can run good, and this game just proves that. It's a Metroidvania game. If you're a fan of Metroid Dread that just recently dropped a few years ago, this is going to be one that I think you will really enjoy. And the best part about it, well, I guess it's unfortunate because it's not selling well. So it's going on sale for like $20 pretty often now. And this game is worth its $50 price tag. I'm telling you, you will be amazed playing this game. The countering system is fun, and when you mess up, you truly feel like you messed up. The game gets really difficult at times. It is a fun journey playing this game, and I've actually streamed Prince of Persia a lot, so you might see me stream this game again if I've already finished it yet by the next time I stream this game, because this is going to be a fun game that I do plan on finishing, and is probably one of the best third-party Nintendo Switch games out there that I've played, in my honest opinion. Like, if I ever made like a definitive top 10 list, which I'm not because that would just be too difficult, this would be up there, I think, with how great that this thing runs. It's probably like a top 5 best third-party game of all time in terms of its Switch, for the Switch versions at least. Definitely pick this up if you have the opportunity.
This is a Nintendo Switch, and this is too many Nintendo Switch games. Now, obviously, the Nintendo Switch has one of the strongest first-party lineups in any console out there. But one of the things that the Switch also has is third-party games. There's good, there's bad, and there's ugly. And in this series, we go over my top 10 favorite third-party games videos, and this is part number 9. We have started this series back in like 2019, and here we are still going strong in 2024. I'm very excited about this because This is a series that I love so much. To me, it's like my little child. I don't know. I love making these videos so much because I love talking about third-party Switch games. I love talking about bad ones. I love talking about good ones. And it's been a while since we've done one of these, and I have another top 10 right here of good Switch games. Good ports, good new games, loads of mixtures of stuff of what we're going to be talking about today. Now, without further ado, sit back and enjoy the top 10 list. Coming in number 10 is one that I am very impressed with how it looks on Switch and how it runs on the Switch, considering how good this game looks. Because when this game got announced and that it was coming to the Nintendo Switch, I was like, no way. There is absolutely no way this game is going to come out, and if it does, it's going to be horrible. It's going to run like crap, or it's just going to get canceled, because we've been seeing that with third-party games recently, that they just flat out cancel the Switch version. And that game is no other than H-Boy. Now, H-Boy is obviously a comic book. It was originated as a comic book. If you've looked at the comics of this, it has an incredibly unique art style to it. And what this development team did with this game is use that art style and make it into a game, making it like a true comic book video game. So if you're a fan of the comics of this series, you are going to be seeing the exact same art style into this game. And it's also a 3D open roguelike game. This game has been very difficult. It's also been very fun to stream because this has so many unexpected things that you'll see with its enemies. I love the world of this universe because of how the game looks. Everything about this game is stunning. I'm not too big into the roguelike games, and we're going to see a lot of roguelike games in this list, but this is something that I've never experienced before in terms of playing a 3D open roguelike game. You know, the type of things that I see with roguelike games is, at least the common thing, is stuff like Hades, that style where it's like the 2D, I guess is what we would be calling it. I've never seen something like this, and I'm sure it's out there. There's multiple games probably like this with the roguelites. But for me, this was my first time playing something like that, and I have greatly enjoyed this. For a Switch version of the game, this is very good, and definitely one to be on the lookout for. I think it just came out physically on the Switch, so it's going to be an expensive game, but digitally, I think it's like a $40 game. It's probably going to go on sale a lot because it's been out for a little bit, but I am surprised how well this was on the Nintendo Switch, and this is something everyone's going to love if you're a comic book fan. Even if you're not a fan of the roguelike games, I think you'll still have enjoyment of this because it kind of gets you through the opening stages of a roguelike game and lets you understand. I feel like the first couple levels are pretty easy where it starts to gravitate you into playing roguelites. I think this is a great starting game if you haven't played a roguelike game, and especially if you're a comic book fan, you need to play this. And obviously, Ron Perlman is not voicing H-Boy, which I know a lot of people are gonna be upset about, but it's still phenomenal. Number 9 is something that I see no one talk about because this game kind of just randomly came out on the Nintendo Switch. And it's a pretty big deal to have this on the Switch. I was surprised that it was not talked about much, and it was one of those releases that came and went. I mean, literally when I found out this game came out on Nintendo Switch, I was surprised that no one talked about it. I never saw an official announcement for this game. When I saw this at a convention, that's actually how I found out that this was on the Switch. I was like, this is fake. There is no way that this is a real Nintendo Switch game. I was very wrong. Coming in number 9 is Samurai Showdown. Now, Samurai Showdown is definitely a fighting game, and I also am kind of surprised this came out on the Switch because, well, the Switch, you know, it's a weaker system, and this game has a lot of power to it, I feel like. And when I played this on the Switch, I had no frame rate drops. Everything was at a locked frame rate. Everything looked good. The resolution looked good. And this comes with so much content. Now, obviously, if you're trying to buy this game physically, this is going to be like a $200 game. So you probably want to stick to the digital side unless you really like the Switch like I do, because I clearly like the Switch with the 500 plus games I have over here, there, over there, and then this new shelf that's going to be coming very soon. You know, it's obviously going to be taking up a lot of my space here, having all these Switch games. So you might want to stick with the digital if you want a cheaper version of this, because it's like a $30 game. And the Switch version has a lot of content. It also has the DLC available for purchase. I believe some of the DLC, if you buy it on the physical side, comes with it a little bit. Not all, but some of it. I know that a lot of the DLCs are pretty expensive for this game. I think the DLC is probably more than the actual game, which is ridiculous that we live in a world where DLC ends up being more expensive than the base release of the game. It's stupid, very stupid that that's happening. The one downside of this is if you're looking for the online player experience, it's dead. I have streamed this, we have tried to play with people, and the whole online community of this game is officially gone. Now, it still has a lot of content if you're a single player guy and if you like local co-op, because I know a lot of people that buy these games typically have a friend in mind that comes over to the house. This will be a perfect addition to the fighting games on the Nintendo Switch, because I feel like the Switch, you know, it's slowly adding more and more fighting games to the list that are really good games. Samurai Showdown is one that I highly recommend that you pick up for the Switch. Coming in, number 8 is a series that I am still surprised did not come to a Nintendo platform sooner, but the Switch is the first time that it had this, and that game series is no other than the Devil May Cry series. Obviously, the Switch only has 1, 2, and 3, and these are the PlayStation 2 ports. I think number 3 actually is a really good version of the game. I think the best version out there. I might be wrong. Coleman's like the Devil May Cry expert, but I'm pretty sure Devil May Cry 3 is best played on the Switch because they added so much new content with that game, because they made like a special edition of some sorts. I don't know, but we're going to be really talking about the first game here, because the first game is awesome. This is a series that I can definitely see myself enjoying once I continue getting through the other games, because this first game is so cool. It actually reminds me a lot of the games that I grew up playing on my PlayStation 2. Now, I know Devil May Cry is the original thing that started this whole hack and slash beat 'em up. Is hack and slash the correct term? I don't even think that's the correct term of what Devil May Cry is. But this type of game that you're playing, that Devil May Cry is, it reminds me of so many of the stuff that I played on PlayStation 2, one of those things being Ghost Rider. And when I played this on my Switch, I had so much enjoyment because it reminded me of what I was playing. And the best part about this series is, well, it didn't have a physical in America, so digitally it goes on sale pretty frequently because Capcom loves putting their games on sale. You could probably get the first Devil May Cry right here for like $3 on a Nintendo eShop sale, and that is way perfect. But that's like the best price to play something like this, and this is such a good game. In fact, it's $3. It's crazy. Now, if you're wanting to play the rest of the series after playing the first 3 games, you're gonna have to find a different console, because 4 is, for whatever reason, I'm surprised that actually didn't come to the Switch. But it's not on Switch, and 5 is definitely never coming to the Switch. Maybe the Switch 2 though. Coming in, number 7 is probably one of the best Nintendo Switch games I have ever played. In terms of a local party game, this easily is the best party game out there. If you have friends that come over a lot, this is a game you need to look into getting. Because me and my friends recently just played this when we were at Southeast Game Exchange in a hotel room, and every single one of us was having so much fun. That game being Towerfall. Towerfall is a game that has 2 modes. You have a mode that you can like team up together. You can play up with 6 players, which is pretty crazy. It's pretty cool to have that as an option. It's also got Celeste in it, if you're a Celeste fan. It's actually created by the creator of Celeste. But the point is, there's a mode in this game where you can basically team up with your friends, get through these levels where enemies are coming left and right, which me and my friends honestly didn't play that one much. The one that we played a lot is where we have to defeat each other, like we're literally killing each other each round. Whoever gets 10 kills first is the winner of the round. And the game is so fun because it has so many different maps, so many different items. You're playing with a bow and arrow. The controls are simple. This is an easy game to pick up and play, especially if you have friends that aren't really gamers, don't really know how to play games. This can be played very easily, and this is why it makes a perfect party game. The one downside of Towerfall is that it does not have online multiplayer. My friends actually talked about that if it had online multiplayer, they would have went ahead and bought a copy of this game over the weekend when we were at the convention. So this game is solely just going to be a local game. So if you don't have friends in the local area that come over often, probably want to stay away from this game. But this game, I'm telling you, is so good. Coming in number 6 is one of my favorite series that I played on the Nintendo Wii, and the fact that it's still going, although it's been a while since we've seen a new entry, because I mean, this game's come out back in 2018, I think? Don't quote me on that. But that game being the Runner 3. The whole Runner series is a phenomenal game. I have always talked about with people, if they're looking for a good game, if you're a fan of the Temple Run style but want an actual challenge, the Runner series is there. And Commander Video is such an iconic character in the indie game scene, I would put them up there with probably Shovel Knight, honestly. I think Shovel Knight is the biggest, iconic, most recognizable indie game character. But in the second place list, you're probably Shantae, and then number 3, I think is Commander Video. And this series is so huge out there that even Masahiro Sakurai put Commander Video as a trophy in Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. That was the first time the indie game characters got recognized. So a lot of people probably got that trophy and was like, huh, I wonder who that is. Well, that trophy comes from the Runner series. The whole Bit Trip series is amazing, and I love Runner 3 so much because, 1, it looks so nice. 2, it has Charles Martinet returning as the narrator, because Charles Martinet, fun fact, is the narrator of 2 and then also 3. And on top of that, Charles Martinet is a playable character in Runner 3. I think Shovel Knight might be a playable character too. I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. But Runner 3 is a phenomenal game that you'll have so much fun with. Single player, this game has phenomenal music. If you're a music guy and love video game soundtracks, you are going to love the Runner series for that. Runner 3 is a great game, and I hope they make Runner 4, but from my understanding, this game did not do well, so Runner 4 is probably never happening, but you need to play Commander Video's games. You need to play one of these games, and Runner 3 is probably the perfect one to get because it's cheap, it's good, it's more with today's times. I think a lot of y'all are going to like it. I mean, the first 2 are great too. Decide which one to play, though. It's great. By the way, weird flex, but look at this. I have a Runner 3 signed copy by Charles Martinet. And guess what, guys? He's never signed one before. When I got this, he was like, I've never signed one of these before. Your boy MonadoMax has the first signed Charles Martinet Runner 3 game. Do you guys have that? No, you don't, because I'm probably the only person that cared about getting this signed. Coming in number 5 is a Metroidvania game that's been highly, highly requested to be in this series, because I asked you guys if I'm missing a game that should be on here, and this is the game that gets brought up a lot. And I'm glad that I finally got the chance to play it and see what the hype was about, because I understand it now. That game being Hollow Knight. Now, Hollow Knight is an interesting series because obviously when you hear Hollow Knight, you probably hear the Silk Song. Silk Song is something that I see in every Nintendo Direct, Indie World presentation, Xbox presentation, all that. I see that talked about all the time. Where is Silk Song? Silk Song, Silk Song. It's been in development for years. I don't know what's going on with it, but that doesn't matter because I haven't beaten Hollow Knight yet, and that needs to be the focus right here. Hollow Knight is a phenomenal game. Its art style is probably why it's so talked about the most in everything in this game, because it's such a beautiful art style. I don't know if I like to make this comparison again since I've already done it once with one of these games, but I'm going to compare it to if Pixar made a video game that was actually good, because the art style kind of reminds me of a Pixar animation, and I made that comparison with Ori and the Blind Forest, which that I think is still more of a Pixar game than what Hollow Knight is. But Hollow Knight, I've enjoyed learning the world of these characters, seeing these characters, learning the dialogue that's being shown on here. I also really like the music and combat. I'm a fan of the combat because when I streamed this game, there were some frustrating moments, but when I beat the boss, I was like, yeah, let's go, ah! Like, it felt like a true moment of where I was like, oh, all this hard work, it's actually paying off. It makes you actually feel like you're doing something good when you beat the boss. And I feel like in today's gaming, you don't see that very often now. Hollow Knight's a great challenge and an affordable challenge that you'll see out there in the wild. Probably about 20 to 30 bucks, and it goes on sale pretty frequently too, digitally. So really just depends how you prefer collecting physical or digital. This is a game that I highly recommend and is number 5 on the list. Now you guys in the comments can shut up about where Hollow Knight is on this tier list of games. Coming in number 4 is going to be a game that I never expected to be this good when I bought it. When I saw it, I was like, oh, it's got a unique cover. I'm probably gonna enjoy this. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it this much enough where it would be on this list, and let alone my stream enjoying it so much to where a lot of my streaming audience actually went ahead and bought this game after that stream. And when I played this game, it reminded me so much of my childhood on the stuff that I played on the PlayStation 2. That game being Ruiner. Ruiner reminds me of a roguelike game with the style of the Ultimate Alliance series. If y'all have seen how the Ultimate Alliance games are with its gameplay style, you'll know what I'm talking about here and probably automatically see the comparisons that I'm making here. You're set in a world somewhere in Japan, I believe, from what it was sounding like for the storyline, and the art style here throughout the whole game, from cutscenes to the actual levels, is amazing. The lighting of this game is also brilliant. It makes everything perfect here. The combat's awesome. You have slow motion modes. You have so much going on at once in this game, which is why I love this so much and truly feels like an original game that I haven't really seen in a while. I really like this game, and is something you guys should definitely be on the lookout for, especially if you love the Ultimate Alliance games, because I know we don't get those very often. Now, if you're a fan of the X-Men Legends games, that's actually the exact same play style of the Ultimate Alliance games. So if you see that and you're like, oh, yeah, definitely pick up Ruiner. This is very fun, and I'm quite frankly very surprised, as I don't know, I don't see anybody talk about Ruiner. I don't know, it's just, I never even realized Devolver made it, to be honest. This is the one Devolver game I have never heard of, and I'm glad I picked it up a few months ago because it is easily one of my favorite Nintendo Switch games out there now. Coming in number 3 is something that I am very surprised runs well on the Nintendo Switch, just due to the fact of the history of this game and how the studio shut down at first and then it got bought back and then a different studio worked on it. I was just like, the Switch version is not gonna have the care that it needs to have like a good Switch game out there. But I was very much wrong. Coming in number 3 is The Walking Dead final season. Now, I want to take this moment to talk about the whole series of The Walking Dead, because that whole series is on the Nintendo Switch and those games are wonderful. For whatever reason, and this doesn't make sense to me, the final season's the only one with a physical copy out there. However, the Walking Dead games go on sale very frequently. If you have never experienced these games, you need to experience them, because every episode of this game is amazing. You make your own choices. I know that's a debatable thing right there, but that's the main focus of the game, is making your choices in a zombie apocalypse world, which in this world it was The Walking Dead that they chose. I'm still amazed about what I'm playing, because this game graphically looks really good for the Switch. I don't really notice a difference between the other versions. Now, the only thing that I can say that I notice a difference are the backgrounds of this. If you see the backgrounds, you'll notice that it definitely got affected by the Switch in terms of lowering the resolution, lowering the backgrounds, making it look like, you know, it's like a Switch port. You can notice that through the backgrounds of this game. But other than that, it runs really good, which I'm, again, surprised by that, because I just didn't think it was possible for this game to look good and run good on the Switch, since Telltale Games at the time went out of business. So I was like, there's no way that they put good money into the Switch version. I was very much wrong, and this is a game that you should definitely play, and definitely the series you guys should play, because The Walking Dead is incredible. I love the show, I love the games, I love the comics, I love everything The Walking Dead. It's my secret love. Y'all don't know how much I love The Walking Dead. I don't talk about it, but I love the series so much. So the fact that it's on the Switch means a lot to me, because it's like my 2 favorite things on my thing right here, the Nintendo Switch. Coming in number 2 is another Nintendo Switch game that I wasn't sure if I was gonna really like or not. I think the reviews for this game have not been positive, but I don't see how. This game is incredible. The music is awesome. The levels are awesome. This really felt like an incredible game that I was playing here. Coming in number 2 is Slave Zero X. This is a 2.5D game that's basically a run and slash. The sprites of these characters look great. The levels are incredible. I love what I'm doing with the combat. There's so many different combos you can do with the game, trying to get the best combo, best hits. It's been incredible to play this game and figure out the rating that I would get in each level, because there's times that I'm like, oh, I did incredible this level. I'm gonna get like the best letter possible, and then I end up getting a D on there. And I was like, what? How is this even possible? Either way, this is a game that's going to definitely surprise you in ways that you're never going to expect from the storyline, because the story really surprised me, especially from the opening of that game. I just was not expecting that, to be honest. I know this is a series that's on the Dreamcast, I believe, and I don't really know too much about the Dreamcast. That would be a good thing for my brother Tynology to figure out, and he probably knows more about that. If you guys are looking for Dreamcast videos, that's the guy to go to. But he's probably heard of this game. It's on the Dreamcast, I think. This is like a continuation to that series, or it's set in the world. I don't know 100% about it, but either way, when it comes to this game, this is an incredible game. I feel like the reviews just did not do this game justice. I was surprised when I played this though. I didn't, it's another thing where I was like, I think this is gonna be a good game, but not really good. When I streamed this, everyone in my comments was the same thing. They were like, wow, this game is awesome. I'm ordering it right away. Definitely pick up this game. Wow. I guess this is it, isn't it? Never would have thought this would be happening. Well, guys, I guess we have to do this one last time. If you know it, say it with me. This is a Nintendo Switch, and this is a lot of Nintendo Switch games, which means there's going to be a lot of third-party games. Now, Nintendo consoles are known to not have third-party games in the last few systems. The Nintendo Switch has had the strongest third-party support from a Nintendo console ever. And with that being said, there has been incredible Switch ports and there's been horrible Switch ports. In this series, we have shown you what are the best Nintendo Switch ports. And today is the grand finale of the third-party game series. By the end of this video, we would have officially reviewed 100 third-party Nintendo Switch games. And in this video, I made sure to bring banger after banger in this top 10 video. So grab some popcorn and let's get right into the final top 10 third-party games video for the Nintendo Switch. Coming in number 10 is one that I am surprised that I am putting on this list, because if you would have told me this back in 2020, I would have been laughing at you, because this series kind of exists because of this game. Coming in number 10 is The Outer Worlds. Now, if you're not aware of the history of The Outer Worlds, when this game came out, it was horrible on the Nintendo Switch. It was one of the worst Nintendo Switch ports out there. To be honest with you, I don't even know how they okayed to release this, considering what The Outer Worlds was and how big of a deal this game was to coming to the Nintendo Switch. When this game got announced for the Switch, people were very excited because we've seen wonders happen at the time with games coming to the Switch, so people were like, oh, this is going to be great. Another exciting chapter to the Nintendo Switch showing how great the system can be. And when this came out in 2020, it had a lot of question of, is this it for the Nintendo Switch? Can games run on the Switch? Because there was a lot of expectation with The Outer Worlds. And I made this series really because of this game. I started this series hating on this game.
And it also has loads of Nintendo Switch ports. And it also has some pretty awful Nintendo Switch ports.
So you're probably asking yourself, why are you putting it in the top 10, Max? From doing these videos, a lot of you guys have told me to go back to The Outer Worlds and see how much improvement the developers did with the Switch port. And I'm here to tell you that the game is like 100 times better on the Nintendo Switch. I was actually very much impressed with how it was looking on the Switch. In fact, we even streamed it, and everyone in my comments were telling me how much of an improvement this has been on the Switch compared to back in 2020 when this thing first released. The only issue I had happen in the Switch port now is when I'm walking, it will just out of nowhere load in more stuff. Like you're getting a loading screen when you really aren't supposed to be getting a loading screen. I would say that's the only annoying thing. And the only time you notice a graphical difference in this game is when the characters are up close like this when you're talking to them. That is the only time you're going to notice, hey, you're playing this on the Switch. This game has been improved so much, and I was very much surprised because this was extremely unplayable when it came out. It was dropping like 5 frames per second, man. It was really bad. I felt it was important to go back to this game, the game that kind of started this series, and in the final episode of it, it ends up being in the top 10. Kind of crazy to think about it, but I can definitely recommend the Outer Worlds now with the updates of this game. Coming in number 9 was a game that was a childhood favorite of mine back in the day, which is crazy to say it's a childhood favorite because I vividly remember this game. And it really doesn't feel that long, but ultimately it has been a long time since this game has come out, and it has been brought over to the Nintendo Switch, and the Switch version is very unique. Coming in number 9 is the Star Wars Force Unleashed. A few things I need to address when it comes to this game. This is a port of the Wii version. The Wii version is the Switch version. A lot of the reasons for that is the Wii had a lot of exclusive modes in it, and it also had the Wii remote motion control features that are also brought over to the Switch version thanks to the Joy-Cons. Because of that, graphically, this game does not look the greatest if you're comparing it to like the PlayStation 3 and 360 versions. That being because they brought over the Wii version. It's an enhanced version, widescreen version of the Wii. Me personally, I love the Wii version. That is the version I grew up on when it came to Star Wars Force Unleashed. And I think this is great. Some people are not gonna like that it's the Wii version. And something that I thought was very interesting is they did not bring this over to the other consoles. Now, I guess it's obvious as to why, because they are using the Wii version, but I'm kind of surprised that the developers of this did not do the PS3, Xbox 360 versions, bring that to Switch, and then the rest of the consoles, and then everyone would have gotten a chance to play this. So the cool thing about this is truly an exclusive Switch game. I think it's cool to have Star Wars Force Unleashed still talked to these days, because at one point, from my understanding, this game used to be canon to the Star Wars lore, and then you'll understand why it's no longer connected to the Star Wars lore, because you can do some pretty crazy things to the Star Wars characters in this game. But this game is great overall, and I will always love this game. If you're not a fan of the Wii version, you probably want to stay away from this, but for nostalgia purposes, I think most of you guys probably played the Wii/DS version of Force Unleashed, so you're really going to like this game. I told you that we were bringing banger after banger, and this next one is one that a lot of you have been asking why it hasn't been on the list yet. Coming in number 8 is Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, the Final Fantasy VII game is one of the most iconic video games out there. And the fact that it's here on Nintendo Switch is kind of crazy to think about, considering the history of this game. At one point, this was an N64 exclusive, and then it was no longer an N64 exclusive. The same company, Square Enix, said it was never going to be on cartridge in the development of Final Fantasy VII. And here we are, 2024, the Nintendo Switch has a physical copy of Final Fantasy VII on a cartridge. This game was exclusive to PlayStation at one point, and now it is on every platform possible. And the Switch is the best place for it to be, with it being an on-the-go system. Final Fantasy VII is an iconic game for most people, with it being Cloud, because Cloud is one of probably, I would say, a video game mascot at this point, because it came out at such an interesting timeline. Now, I will tell you, I have not beaten Final Fantasy VII. I am still working on it. I am going to do it, it's just at this point, it feels more like a chore. But I've played enough to tell you I can understand why this game gets all the reviews that it gets, why it's a critically acclaimed game, and why for many, it's their favorite video game of all time. And I hope to beat it someday. It's just when I play video games and I feel like it's a chore to me, it's a struggle for me to beat those games. However, I've put a lot of time into Final Fantasy VII already, and I can tell you that this is a great game for you to buy, especially considering that this thing goes on sale all the time for like less than 10 bucks. That's a key title to have on your Switch on the go, and a lot of you guys will probably enjoy it considering the type of audience that I have. I think with the games that I've reviewed, this will be a safe pick for you guys. And I'm sure Coleman has a lot to say about it. In fact, I got his permission for me to go ahead and put this in the top 10 since I didn't beat the game. Because I knew how special Final Fantasy VII was for him, and I didn't want to be, you know, talking about it without his permission, to be honest with you, because this is a very special game for him, and I'm sure he'll explain as to why. Coming in number 7 is a video game franchise that I think many would have never expected to hit the Switch, despite it wanting to be on the Switch and being the perfect platform. That game is Persona 4 Golden. Now, Persona is a series that I think is incredible. Now, if you're playing Persona 3, I'm gonna tell you that that game sucks. Do not play Persona 3. But games like Persona 5 and Persona 4 are incredible games. I am still playing through Persona 4 Golden, and I am greatly enjoying this game. It's just, with the 2 jobs that I have, it is hard to play games that are like 50 to 60 hours long. However, that's why I recommend this game for the Nintendo Switch. These Persona games are perfect for the Nintendo Switch because you're constantly on the go, and games that are over 50 hours, they're just meant for the Switch, in my opinion. And the fact that it's on the Nintendo Switch is crazy to me. You know, people were buying PlayStation Vitas just to play Persona 4 Golden, and here it is on the Nintendo Switch for less than $20. That's perfect to have for your Nintendo Switch. Not to mention, it probably goes on sale now where you can get it for less than 15 bucks or even cheaper than that. This is a key title to have. Many people are buying it. They bought systems for it. Persona is very popular. It used to be a PlayStation exclusive at one point, and now it's on all consoles. Pick up Persona 4 Golden if you haven't already. But Persona 3 right here, not a part of the team. Coming in number 6 is a game that a lot of us were losing hope in terms of it coming to current gen consoles. But at the beginning of this year, we were all proven wrong. Coming in number 6 has to be the Ace Attorney Apollo Justice Trilogy. For the longest time, Capcom was only bringing the Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright trilogy to current game consoles. It first started with mobile, then it came to 3DS, then it came to PlayStation 4, then out of nowhere it came to Nintendo Switch. And through, I think, that whole cycle right there, we had 2015 to 2020, that was the only Phoenix Wright game we were getting. I think we had Ace Attorney 6 at one point in the middle of that, but we were getting more ports than actual new games. And by the time all of this was happening, people really just wanted Apollo Justice games because those haven't been brought to the system yet, or even mobile. But Capcom, for whatever reason, was not bringing these games over. At the beginning of this year, we had an announcement that this game was coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it shocked a lot of people because people have been asking for this for a very long time. Luckily, it is here, and I have to tell you that the first Apollo Justice game, a lot of these Ace Attorney tutorial cases are not great, to be honest. It's just trying to explain the game to you, how to beat the game, how being an attorney works, all that good stuff. The first case of Apollo Justice should not been as good as what it was, because that was peak. That was crazy. That was crazy for a tutorial one. Out of all the Ace Attorney games I've played, that case was crazy. And that might be one of the best cases in the whole Ace Attorney trilogy. Or, I mean, I guess series at this point. And it's great to have the Nintendo Switch now because all the Ace Attorney games are on there now. This is a must-buy game, and especially if you love the Phoenix Wright games, you will love Apollo Justice. Buy this game. It's amazing, runs amazing, looks amazing. I mean, it should look amazing because, I mean, if you look at the game, it doesn't look like a hard game to run on Nintendo Switch. Buy this game!
Hey guys. See the time? Yup, 5 a.m. I'm up here editing Max's video because someone forgot to film the commercial. So I woke up in a cold sweat. Join the MONADO Marines. Only then will he ever reach his goal of 0 subscribers. Make it happen, guys. Please. Please make it happen.
Coming in number 5 is another banger and another game that you could have never expected to hit the Nintendo Switch. That game being Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Now, this game visually is a very impressive thing to be on Nintendo Switch. I think in general, this game is one of the best looking games out there from the Nintendo Switch era, and really when it hit PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, that game looked really good. It looked really beautiful. And when this game got announced, I was like, there's no way Activision's gonna be able to invest the money to put this in the Switch. They're not gonna do it. They did Crash Bandicoot, and then I was like, maybe this is possible. Maybe they're gonna bring Spyro. And then I saw Spyro looking more beautiful than the Crash games. I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way that they're gonna put Spyro on the Switch. A year later, they managed to put Spyro on the Switch, and I was like, okay, well, they must be sacrificing something here to put the game on Switch. No, visually and frame rate wise, this game is amazing. I can't believe that this game looks as amazing as it is. And Spyro is a great game. If you're a big fan of the collectathon games, as there's not really many out there now in today's time, this is basically a collectathon with dragons, but you're collecting dragons. It's actually a pretty unique collectathon game. I couldn't recommend it to every collectathon fan. Like my editor Coleman, I would never recommend this game for him. He's a very passionate fan of collectathon games because Banjo-Kazooie is one of his favorite games of all time. I couldn't recommend this to him. But if you're a fan of just casual gaming, I think you will really like this game. It's a good time killer, and I think this is like less than 20 bucks now. Definitely pick up the Spyro series. The only downside of buying it on Switch is it's gonna take up a lot of space on your Switch. Even buying it physically, you have to have a download that downloads Spyro 1 through 3. The cartridge in here doesn't have all of Spyro 1, which is kind of crazy to me. It just has a little bit of each game. I hate when they do that, and I don't know why they did it for Spyro, considering Crash Bandicoot has all 3 games on the cartridge. Don't know what Activision was doing there, but clearly Activision and Xbox don't know what they're doing because they apparently canceled Spyro 4. So when you get this game and want to play another Spyro game, you're never going to get another Spyro game. These are the 3 Spyro games you're getting, and that is it. So don't get hooked to the series, but still buy this. Man, I love this video because we are having banger after banger, and number 4 is another banger. And it's another thing that people had been requesting to come to the Nintendo Switch for years and years. Coming in number 4 is Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is one of the best video games of all time. I think Red Dead 2 is actually better. That might be a hot take, but both games are great. So when this got announced for the Nintendo Switch, I got so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Because Rockstar Games, I have some sources that tell me that Rockstar Games do not like developing for the Nintendo Switch, but their company that owns them, Take-Two, is forcing them to put stuff on the Switch. That's why for the longest time you didn't have stuff on the Switch, but 2K loves developing for it, and they told Rockstar, hey, you need to develop for the Switch. So they're starting to develop for the Switch. You got things like Red Dead Redemption, GTA, LA Noire, that was like a launch title for the Switch in the launch year. But the big one now is Red Dead Redemption, and this thing runs amazing on Switch. It visually looks amazing. Now, I know that's not like a groundbreaking achievement considering that it is a Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 game, but it's great to see that this game still to this day looks amazing. And the story of this game is one of the best out there. You will not regret buying this game. The only complaint I would have about the Switch version is it never goes on sale. So you're paying $50 for a 360 game that's been out for 10 plus years. So that is a little disappointing, but you will not regret owning this game because it is a masterpiece, and I am so glad that this is on the Switch. If only they could get Red Dead 2 on the Switch, that'd be great, but I know that I'm not going to say it's impossible, because if they put the time and money towards it, anything is possible on the Switch. I'm telling you now, they just have to put time and effort. You can get games running on the Switch. We've seen that happen. We have seen the impossible happen on Nintendo Switch. Coming in number 3 is a game that all of you guys have been asking to be on this list since the beginning of this series. And for the longest time, I didn't have time to really play it. Coming in number 3 is a video game that all of you guys have been requesting to be in this series since the beginning of this series. And unfortunately, I never had time to really play this game. There was other things coming out that just took priority to be put in other third-party games videos, but for this final top 10 video, I wanted to make sure I put the time and effort into games that people have been asking for. That's why in this video, there has been a true banger back to back. And this next one deserves to be in this list, and it's deserved to be in it a long time ago. I just never got a chance to play it. This time I have. Coming in number 3 is the Dragon Quest XI. Now, what can I say about this? This is an incredibly unique Switch port. Now, I don't think it's as special as it is now, back when it first released. A lot of the stuff that was in the Switch version was exclusive at one point. Now they have made this enhanced version on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. But what made this version so great is, one, it's a super long game, so the Switch being portable, this game was just meant for the Nintendo Switch. But one of the key features of the Switch version is it was basically 2 games. You had a 2D mode and a 3D mode. Obviously most people did the 3D mode, but the 2D mode was the whole 3D game, but in 2D. So you had 2 different forms of gameplay here. It was incredibly unique to see Square Enix do something like this, and a lot of fans probably loved that if you were original Dragon Quest fans, since the series started in 2D. And this was kind of a love letter to those people out there. I don't think I've ever seen something like that, having 2 different modes. The Switch version had even more, but unfortunately, I was an idiot. And I don't know if I'm gonna go back to this game anytime soon. I decided to play around with the 2D mode, and I ended up, I don't even like saying this, but I ended up overwriting my save file of the 3D mode. So all of my progress that I did in 3D mode is gone, because I don't know. I feel like the wording was poorly used when they explained that. It makes sense now, but to me at the time, I didn't realize. Maybe I was just hitting the A button too much. I don't know. I feel like it should have been explained a little bit better, but my progress that I did in the 3D world is all gone. And I put a lot of time into that. And I don't necessarily know if I'm going to go back to that. Because guess what? I didn't learn my lesson. Although I didn't play much of the 2D mode, I ended up doing the same thing when I was going back to the 3D world. I overwrote the 2D save file. So I did it not once, but twice. So my save file is non-existent. I have to go back to the game. I mean, granted, my character's leveled up higher now, but I've seen the same dialogue 2 times. I'm tired of seeing the same dialogue. But this is a great game. Game runs great, looks great on the Switch, and honestly, I think the Switch version is the way to go for this. This was meant for the Switch. And fun fact, Dragon Quest XI and Dragon Quest X were the first games to ever be announced when the Switch was called the Nintendo NX. So if you want a fun fact, this is the first official Nintendo NX game that you should own. I mean, this was before Breath of the Wild was announced for the NX, I'm pretty sure. It was, I want to say July 2015 when this game got announced for the Nintendo NX, but I might be wrong about the year. Either way, I do know that this is the first game. And for number 3, you should pick it up. I think this is still a pretty expensive game though, so if you're not a fan of that, you know. Coming in number 2 is another big title that I wasn't sure would ever come to the Switch. I initially thought this would come, but as years went by, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't coming to the Switch. Coming in number 2 is Borderlands 3. And what can I say about this? This really surprised me. This did a lot of things that a Switch port had never done before. Now, I'm sure you guys all see the memes with certain Switch games with how its textures look rough, because they don't update textures if, you know, it's a high-powered game. Borderlands 3 does something incredibly unique. It actually replaces textures that would look bad with good textures. They'll put different models than what was there in the other versions of the game, and they still make it look nice and look like it was meant to be there. I thought that was very creative and something we haven't seen done before. This game also visually looks good on Nintendo Switch, which really surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be possible that it would look as good as it did. Not to mention the frame rate was really good. The frame rate didn't start dropping until there was a lot of enemies. Like, keyword, a lot. There had to be a lot on the screen for it to noticeably go down. But a lot of times you don't see that happen. And when there was no enemies, or really just casual enemies just on the screen, game was running fine. Game was running great. The one issue I would say when it comes to the Switch port of this are the loading screens. The loading screens for this are horrible. I will be waiting for a very long time. Kinda reminds me of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. I told you that that was a great game on Switch, but the only issue was that the loading screens were bad. This one was really bad with the loading screens. Now, the good thing about Borderlands 3, you're not gonna run into as many loading screens as something like Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, but the loading screens, you're gonna be waiting a while. The Switch 2 might be announced by the time you're done with the loading screen, I'm just saying. I'm holding the last game that this is going to be in the series. It's crazy to me to think how far we have come with the top 10 third-party game series. We started this literally in the last house in my room with no posters, no nothing, with my laptop space cam as the camera, and I'm pretty sure I had a lot more weight on me. We've seen an evolution with this channel as each part came out pretty much, as there was different backgrounds in this. I think there was 5 different backgrounds in this series. We've also seen my weight loss happen throughout the series. It was a pretty interesting evolution because the channel evolved and I also evolved as a person. This is a series that I really took with me from the beginning, and I mean, this isn't the end, but it's the end of the series, so it was here from the beginning to the end with me. So, I mean, I still have a future. This channel's not going anywhere, but y'all know what I mean. And it's crazy to me that here I am holding the last game that will ever be a part of the Switch third-party game series. Coming in number 1 is another big one. It Takes Two. It Takes Two was one of the most impressive Switch third-party games I have ever played. I didn't think it was going to be possible that this was going to be good because the person that worked on it was called Turn Me Up. Turn Me Up had done a lot of Switch ports out there, some good, some bad, and most recently they did the Batman Arkham Trilogy. As y'all heard my review on that, had some good things about it, but I also had a lot of bad things. And with It Takes Two being such a, I wouldn't say high-powered game, but visually it looks good and does a lot of things that I wasn't sure the Nintendo Switch could really handle. And when I played this with my friend Jackson, we were both impressed as we continued through the game. The only time we thought this game looked bad is when the human models came into the cutscenes. But throughout the game, you're going to be seeing how incredible this game runs, as there is 0 frame rate drops, and me and Jackson were waiting for the frame rate drops. There were scenes that were like, oh, this is where the frame rate drops are gonna happen. They didn't happen. This game visually looks amazing. The frame rate is amazing. You're only going to see a visual difference when you get into those human cutscenes. It Takes Two is a phenomenal game. I think a lot of you guys will really enjoy this if you have someone to play this with you, and I highly recommend this to your Nintendo Switch collection and just to play, because this is a genuinely really fun game and a good game. The developer of this, I've played all of his work. I even played his first game, Brothers. A lot of you guys don't even know what that is, but we recommended it in this series. Very good game. I even played A Way Out with Coleman. Very good game. Didn't come to the Switch though. In fact, I'm surprised that this came to Switch because the developer, the creator of this series, when you asked him if A Way Out was going to come to the Switch, he laughed at you. So it's funny that It Takes Two's on the Switch because that visually looks better than A Way Out. But this is a great game. Buy it. And just like that, guys, that is it. We've reviewed 100 games on this channel in this series, this third-party game series. And obviously, next year is the Switch 2. So now is a perfect time to end this series. I never thought I would be able to end this with 100 games because, you know, that's hard to do. We started late on this, but I love this series so much because it felt very special to me having a series like this. Third-party games really weren't discussed, and I'm not saying I created this. I started the movement of third-party discussion, but I definitely was one of the early people talking about this. So to see this discussion go further, seeing bigger YouTubers such as Beat 'em Ups now talking about third-party games, it feels great to be in the beginning stages of this and have some sort of, I'm not saying I created this, but be part of the people that was in the early discussions of it and see it be what it is now. I love this series so much. I know some of y'all are going to be sad that it's ending, but it's good to end it on 100 rather than 120. When the Switch 2 comes out, I will be returning with this series. Whatever this system's going to be called, it'll be the top 10 third-party games for Nintendo Switch 2. It's obviously not going to be called that. Guys, I have been talking for way too much. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button. Like the video. Check out our Twitter. Become a MONADO Marine, $5 a month. Check out our Instagram. Everything in the description below. Let me know y'all's favorite third-party games. Make sure to check out the whole series of this, where we've started with bad quality to good quality now. And wow, this is it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Wow, this is it. See you guys for Switch 2 next year. This series is coming back with a different system. Bye, guys. I gotta be like that one gif where the guy's like, goodbye. Jake Gillian or whatever his name is. Coleman, ask me what it is if you don't know what I'm talking about. But he's like doing goodbye. He's like, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? I'm either looking really smart right now, or you guys, the guy that plays Mysterio, that there's a popular gif as he's waving goodbye. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I'm probably looking like an idiot right now. I'll see you guys next year with this series.